Good evening, everyone. Just want to call the meeting to order it's a special meeting for the Oxnard Community Services Public Safety, Housing, and Economic Development Committee for Tuesday, July 28th, 2026. And kindly thank you for your understanding having to make this adjustment to come here. It gives it really like a very intimate feeling, right, to be in this setup right here. We had some problem with our electricity at City Hall, and hence we had to make the adjustment. So thank you for your understanding and also for staff. Logistically, I know what it takes to move all the technical items here and be able to like take Zoom calls and the video and pushing this out on YouTube. So for full transparency, so thank you to staff for this logistical work. We may have some interruptions too from the library. We couldn't shut off the intercom system, so we'll have some announcements being made by the library as they approach closing time. So if you just bear with us, okay? And before we get started, it's going to be, if you remember how it was last time, my desire, my feeling on these things is to have more of a workshop type process where I've asked our city clerk we're not going to stick to the 3-minute mark on the OPAC item. So we'll just have a workshop. So Dr. Davis is a speaker, and then Renee or Terrell. We'll just go through each item as we get to the item. Before we'll get started, I'm going to ask our city clerk for a roll call and also for posting of the agenda, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Committee Member Perala?
Here.
Committee Member Perez?
Here.
Chair MacArthur?
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted in the kiosk at City Hall, the Oxnard Public Library, the City Administrative Offices, and on the city's website on Tuesday, July 21st. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If I could have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And if I can we take a moment of silence? One more firefighter, fires up north, passed away from severe burns.
Okay, take a moment of silence. Okay. You can just repeat after me. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Perla, for that. We'll move to the first item on the agenda. This is for public comments and for non-action items. We have J.R. Ruiz. Also, Diego's going to be monitoring our virtual speakers. So let me know, Diego, if we have any virtual speakers on this item.
I don't think your microphone's on.
My microphone is on. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna off the agenda.
Is yours on, JR? You want to check it?
There's no light on it. Okay, I think now it's on. Okay, so I'm not here on the agenda, but I know about a month late, but I want to congratulate the mayor because last time he was busy and I don't think I was clear enough on his 250 celebration. It was just right on the money, and the car show that we did last week was like a high school reunion. It was something really good for the community, and that's kind of what I've been kind of pushing. I know probably out of the box because I'm not here that often, but I've been asking for more bicycle lanes. I used to cycle as a kid, and I see a lot of these kids and the traffic with all these new e-scooters and all that stuff is getting really dangerous out there for the kids. And I think that the paint cost is the same if it's green or white, as I spoke to the engineer. So why don't we just make it more clear for the kids and maybe do a safety course where they get it for free to teach them how to stay alive? Because by my parents' home, 2 people have gotten run over in the last month, and it's starting to get to where there's a safety issue more for the kids. I won't ride my motorcycle anymore because there's so many distracted drivers with all the phones and the technology. So I'm just kind of pushing that the city look more into that for the safety and for so that the community could do more. It's really nice now that I come to Oxnard because I used to hate it here, and I see that they're doing stuff for the people, like the buildings and all that. And I kind of have a little pride in the city. I'm like, man, they're really taking care of the people. And that's all that I'm kind of here to kind of push. I really like to do things for others, and I like to talk to you guys so that maybe we can do more for the community. It's really nice to see that the city's going that way. And I also had an idea about the housing issue that we have. A lot of people that end up in their RVs, like I did when I got kicked out of my beach house. I kind of started that, so I feel bad. And I talked to Parole about that maybe we need to make like a 5-year plan to help these people, kind of push them in the right direction. I spoke to Parole about this, and I'd be willing to help the city with that, because sometimes, like I had a lot of little brothers, sometimes you got to push the people in the right direction because they don't know how to fix it. And I think that in the future, maybe we can meet. I was thinking like the city could accommodate them, and we have them put like, say, a couple dollars in an escrow account per day. They got a 5-year plan where they got to fix their problem, go get training, go get whatever health. And in 5 years, that money is given to them in exchange for their RV, but that goes to the landlord to get them a place. But so it's kind of like they're going to put the money away. The city's going to charge them like a couple dollars a day, and we're going to save it for them in that escrow account. And if they finish the program on track, then they get that money for their RV, but we give it to the landlord so they can get a place. But hopefully by then they got job training, and they follow the steps that will push them in the right direction to help them out. Because a lot of times when you're out like that, you don't think clearly because you don't have your Manslows. And in business, I learned that you have to have your Manslows just to be able to function with everybody else, you know. So something that maybe down the road we can elaborate more. Thank you for your time.
I
You guys have a nice day.
comments. Appreciate your comments, Gerald. Thank you very much. Diego, is there any virtual speakers?
So Chair MacArthur and committee members, that concludes our speakers in person and virtually for items not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item is the consent agenda, and the only item I see here is the approval of the minutes for the July 14th, 2026 Community Services, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee meeting. Do any members have any questions or comments on this item?
I have none. If there's no public speakers, I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second the motion.
Diego, do we have any requests? So Chair MacArthur and committee members, there are no requests to speak on the information and consent agenda in person or virtually. Committee Member Bettis?
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo?
Yes.
Chair MacArthur?
Yes,
And this motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
thank you. The next item on the agenda is item D1. This is from the Cultural and Community Services Department. Subject is an update on the contract negotiations with Sterling Venue Ventures and the OPAC nonprofit for operations of the Oxnard Performing Arts and Convention Center, otherwise referred to as the PAC. The recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee, 1, receive an update on the contract negotiations with Sterling Venue Ventures, Sterling, for facility operations of the theater and future bookings of the meeting rooms at the Oxnard Performing Arts and Convention Center. 2, provide feedback on the 4 outstanding items related to the contract negotiations with Sterling and the OPAC nonprofit. And 3, direct staff to continue work on the outstanding issues within the contract with Sterling and the OPAC nonprofit, and bring the 2 contracts for the PAC operations to the full City Council for further discussion. And Director Terrell Harrison with the Cultural and Community Services Department is here, as well as members of his staff and our Deputy City Manager to answer any questions we may have. We have a number of public speakers. And then, you know my style for this particular item, we will do a workshop as we go through the issues. And if it's okay with committee members, we will start with some public comments. Thank you. Josiah.
Chair MacArthur,
yes.
do you want me to frame the item before you?
Yes, actually, yes,
Okay.
that'd be good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair MacArthur and committee members, members of the public. Katie Casey, Deputy City Manager. So I just want to bring everyone to how we got here today really briefly, what was discussed in January, and the brief overview of the 4 items before you tonight before public comment starts. So tonight's workshop is another milestone towards implementing the City Council's direction to secure 2 contracts, one with Sterling Venue Ventures and one with the OPAC nonprofit for operations of the PAC. In January, we brought several negotiation items to this committee, and you gave us some feedback that helped us through that first impasse. Tonight, we're going to do the same thing, except this time is from Sterling's perspective. Back in January, it was from OPAC's perspective. And I just wanted to briefly recap what we all determined in January. So the committee gave the direction that 1, Sterling would maintain the sole alcoholic beverage ABC license for the facility. 2, Sterling would provide centralized security oversight for both alcohol and non-alcohol events at the PAC. 3, the city's Facilitron reservation platform will be used for future bookings of the meeting rooms, and this is when both contracts go into operations. 4, there will be a 60-40 meeting room revenue split for both operators in favor of the city, and again, that's when the new contracts go into effect. Let's see here, 4, 5, there was an agreement by both parties that they will pay the concession fees for the meeting rooms. And that is important because one of the items we have before you tonight is cleaning up the language that you agreed to back in January. And 6, the committee provided us with direction to staff to develop exhibits and an enforcement framework to be used by both contractors. Now, this is a really important
Library staff member Will, please return to circulation.
At least she's not yelling at me for being too loud in the library. So the exhibits and the enforcement framework that the committee members gave us direction for, that's going to be really important to the contract because as you see, there are disagreements between how operations are run right now. People have different perspectives. And we want to have uniform, standardized processes and operations of the facility with the 2 contracts. So where we are today, since we last met you in January, we have continued our negotiations with Sterling, and during that time, Terrell and the CCS team has continued to meet with both operators. There are day-to-day operational issues that come up, and Terrell and Julie and Renee have been on it. They have been working hard behind the scenes, and I don't think they get enough credit with how much work is going on to keep this moving forward. One item that came up was outside food operations. That is included, the update in the staff report. I just wanted to bring that to your attention that the conclusion is in the staff report because our council members did receive some emails on that from clients just to reaffirm our SUP, our special use permit, controls the manners and use of the food permitting in the facility. And basically, it's been that way since 2020 that we have to use licensed food operators. This was confirmed with all operators of the facility right now. And any clients that were confused on that issue, they have been communicated with and updated on the food policies associated with the PAC. So I just wanted to close the loop on that because that is one hot button topic that was came to the council level after the last time we met in January, but it is resolved. So now, just to preview the 4 items we have before the committee members this evening, we have given you staff recommendations very similar to the process that we did last time. So members of the CCS team will come up here, walk you through each item. Mayor, in the workshop format too, we will ask Lance Sterling Venue Ventures to speak. We have Gary Davis, the president of the OPAC nonprofit here this evening, and they can provide their point of view and answer any questions you may have. And then for each one of these items, we want the committee to give us direction on, do you want the staff recommendation, move forward with staff recommendation? Do you want to modify the staff recommendation? Or is there something different, a hybrid solution that the committee members come up with? So the items before you this night is item 1A and 1B, which relates to our city code and dance permits. Item 2 is meeting room bookings. Item 3 is updating the concession language that the committee members reviewed in January. And item 4 is the PAC marquee management. And so I'm just going to take a break right now in case you do want to go for public comment. If people want to speak before we dive into each of these 4 items. But as I mentioned, we don't have the same presentation screen as we did last time in January. So our staff members will reference what page number we're on in the agenda packet. So people following along online, you can look at that, the agenda packet that's published on the city website, and you can see which table item number we're on when we reference the page number in there. So I will turn it over to the mayor for public comment, and then after you're done with the public comment, Terrell Harrison will speak to the first item for our workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember. Yeah.
With respect to,
Turn your microphone.
thank you, thank you. With respect to the ongoing meetings, Is it one meeting, two meetings? Do we have an idea of how many meetings, so that the public has an idea? This is not just one meeting and we say multiple meetings.
Sure. Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
So the number of meetings. For negotiations, since January, there have been 5 formal meetings that staff, and that includes the city manager's office and Cultural and Community Services Department, have had with Sterling Venue Ventures for their contract specifically. In terms of meetings with both operators, there have been 10 operational meetings that Terrell's staff has had with both Sterling and the OPAC nonprofit since January. Now, I just want to say I did not include this in the staff report, but that does not include all of the emails, phone calls, back and forth with both parties. There was a public comment that was submitted tonight that our staff is still investigating. We need to find out both sides. So when we get a complaint and then we get a counter complaint and they don't match, we have to do even more work to find out, okay, where is the issue here? Who is at fault? And then how do we fix it with operational procedures?
Thank you. I'd just like to make a comment. Oftentimes, a council member, myself specifically, will be asked questions like, what are we doing? What's going on? And I will tell them, staff is working on things. I appreciate this extra information. We're not sitting on our hands. We're trying to do the very best for the citizens of Oxnard, and I appreciate the extra information you gave, which is not in the staff report, because it all counts. Thank you. It
And-
adds weight to the decisions that we make.
And just to piggyback off of that comment, Bert, it's a lot of work. This is a new operating model, and as you can see with the different disputes that we have and recommendations on how to do things, we're playing the referee in a lot of it. So the committee's recommendation in January to come up with these exhibits and policies and procedures, that's falling on our staff. So we are working and chipping away at it as we receive updates from you. All of these security items will help us with referencing the guidance for gatherings and other security guard questions that keep coming up. So that's going to help with cutting down a lot of these operational issues that keep rising and bubbling up. But it's going to take time. These have to be drafted based on what we hear from you, what we are seeing in the day-to-day operations, and they have to come together with the contract because we need the city council to approve the whole package.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Publicly, thank you to all the staff involved in this.
Yeah, thanks for your diligent work on this, and thank you, Katie, for providing the background as to how we got here. And we will go to public comment, but just want you to keep in mind, we will limit public comment to 3 minutes for public comment, but you can certainly come back as we go through each of these items, so you're not precluded from not coming back and participating and having a robust discussion. So just to stay on track, we'll limit these to three minutes, but then following this, if you want to speak on any one item, come right back up. You're welcome to come back and participate, okay? So we will start with Josiah, followed by Maria Durant.
Check, check. Hello, Oxnard City Council Committee. My name is Josiah Henriksen, and I'm a former employee of Canyon at the OPAC location. I worked there from 2022 to 2025 as first an audio engineer and then as a production manager. I am talking to you today to share some of my experiences of working at Canyon. During my time as production manager, I witnessed the payroll issues that directly affected me and my team. The payroll issues included miscalculated overtime, missing hours, and unpaid reimbursements. My team used to have to keep a separate log of our own hours to be able to ensure paycheck amounts. It became an every payday occurrence that I would have to meet with the office staff to go over my hours and show them which ones were missing. I personally was terminated in 2025 and was only given the reason that California is an at-will employment state, so my termination was an at-will termination. At that time, my final checks were not made available immediately upon my termination, as it is required by law. In the subsequent months after my departure, I learned that the production team I had worked with was either given little or no hours, and that production hours were either given to non-Oxnard residents or to unqualified production personnel. It's not difficult to see from Canyon's website that there's very few public concerts/events, and in my time with Canyon, I witnessed the closure of 2 of his venues, Santa Clarita and Montclair. In In this past year since my departure, I have received communication from the clients that I formed relationships with over my time at the PAC. The things I heard from them include their dissatisfaction with the Canyon because of bad or unorganized production and the lack of production staffing that was supposed to be included with their rentals. Today, the city is considering giving Sterling exclusive oversight of security. During my time managing productions, I observed large events where no security personnel were provided, specifically the Jehovah's Witness Hall events. I am proud of the work that me and my production team accomplished in my time there, and it is a shame to see that these jobs that once belonged to Oxnard residents be given to people that don't even live here. Has the city evaluated whether its contractor is supporting local employment opportunities as intended? Based on my experience managing productions at this facility, I encourage the committee to ensure that any expansion of Sterling's operational authority is accompanied by clear performance standards, regular reporting, and meaningful accountability. Good contractors should welcome transparency. Thank you. And I have a copy of these.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Josiah. Thank you. Ms. Durant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Maria Durant, and I have a business called Dance for Wellness. We are a performing arts education company based out of Ventura County. We work very closely with Wainimi Elementary School Districts to provide theater to all 9 elementary schools, and it's funded entirely by the district. I'm here because, and this is kind of a little bit of an awkward position, because I do have a good working relationship with Sterling Ventures, but I wouldn't be me if I wasn't expressing my experience as their client. So I have 3 items that I'd love to discuss. One has to do with the safety. The second is operational and staffing concerns on their behalf. And the third is communication. To give you a little background, since 2023, Dance for Wellness has proudly produced 7 large-scale student productions, 6 of which have happened at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center. We pay a venue rental of $40,000 for Monday through Saturday, and we do this twice a year. So over the last 3 years, we've paid Sterling Ventures about $250,000. So hopefully my feedback is valuable. My intention is really to, I've communicated some of these issues directly, but I feel like it needs to be heard on a larger scale. For us, safety of children is the most important thing. And we produce events that have 250 to 300 first through 5th grade students on their campus and about 40 employees. Now, we were told that we would have 1 security guard that would monitor the front where the students exit and 1 security guard that would monitor where the staff exit. We realized on Wednesday of our rehearsal that we had no second security guard. In December of 2025, we had an incident regarding one of our employees that was approached by a transient individual that was wielding a machete. There was no security back there. We had to call the police. There was a police report filed, and that person was arrested. That made our employees completely terrified of being in that parking lot. By the way, there are people that live in that parking lot. When we do our event, we have 2 big shows, and each time we have 1,500 to 2,000 people, plus 300 children in the building. We feel like there is not enough security for the magnitude of what it is that we do. I believe that when a public facility is hosting almost 2,000, 3,000 people, we can't afford gaps in security coverage. Some operational and staffing concerns. As Josiah mentioned, we were one of the big teams that he worked with, and so did all of the staff. Everybody was since fired, including most of the security staff that we grew to know and trust. For me, I'd like to know what kind of people are being brought to work because a lot of what Josiah said are people from outside LA, and they're contracted for a day or so, and then we don't even know where they come from, so it made us feel very unsafe. In addition to that, during our December 2025 production, the contracted lighting technician was unavailable for significant portions of Tech Week. We pay for them for us to have a lighting person, a sound person, basic janitorial services. We were without a lighting person until Wednesday. We had 300 students that have never been on a stage before that could not do any type of lighting. They were unavailable Monday, late Tuesday, present Wednesday, left early Thursday, and a promised additional lighting technician never arrived. Because they rehearsed with no lighting, everything ran behind. As it ran behind, we had to have our staff come in at 6 a.m. to try to do some of the work that should have been done by the location that we contracted. As a result, our payroll records show 112 overtime hours between all of our staff and $9,424.13 in additional payroll costs. I'm a one-woman show. I'm a tiny business, okay? I don't have a huge company. And so for us to incur that, I did document the concerns. We submitted our supporting payroll records and sent an email requesting respectfully a consideration of credit. We never got a response. As far as communications, this is a big one for me. Our productions are school-sponsored. We get a grant from the school district to do this, and it's supposed to be family-focused and designed for elementary school children. We have always specifically communicated that alcohol should not be served during the event because it's a school-sponsored event. Despite that request, this past June, alcohol sales were opened. After we raised our concern, the issue was eventually corrected, and I will admit I got a little bit heated about it when I saw people bringing hard liquor and beer to a 2 p.m. matinee performance. My concern isn't just the alcohol, it's the fact that there should be some level of communication. There is an agreement made, and that agreement, I believe, should be honored. Our hope moving forward, we respectfully ask that organizations that are using the city-owned facility receive appropriate security, adequate technical staffing, which is still somewhat lacking, professional communication, and a safe, reliable environment for students, families, and our community. Thank you for your consideration and your commitment to preserving OPAC as a safe, well-operated community asset. And I timed myself because I'm very long-winded because I'm Cuban. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Thank you. Sure, yeah. Go ahead.
Concerns that you had, and you mentioned the school district is involved. Did you share this with the school district?
The school district hires us as their community partner to provide these programs. So we're directly paid by the district.
So as an employee of the school district, did you share this information with the school district?
I'm not an employee of the school district, I'm a vendor.
Okay, then as a vendor of the school district, did you share this information with the school district?
We shared that we were having some issues, but we try to keep everything internal because it's all of my employees that work under my liability. So I take full accountability and liability for anything that happens. So I don't, our superintendent is actually here listening to this for the first time.
Okay, I'll make a suggestion when I'm done with my questions, and thank you very much for staying to answer the questions. With respect to the dates and the events that you did and you documented them, who did you share the documents with? Who did you notify?
So
What
every document.
parties do you notify?
Yeah, every document was shared with Kim Gregory in shared emails, and I have copies of the emails that we submitted.
Okay, I'm sorry that you went through that, but I would make a very strong recommendation. You ever get in a situation like this again, you share them with who you did share them with, you share them with the city staff, you share them with city management, and for God's sakes, you cover your back and you share them with the school district. Because if something goes wrong, small business or big business, you can bet the school district's gonna come after you, as well as the parents. So thank you for sharing this information.
Yeah, thank you. And if I could just add, this has only happened in the last 2 times that we've been there. We never had any issue with any of this prior to December of 2025. So this is somewhat new, and since we have an ongoing relationship with the people that are sitting behind me, it's taken me a while, to be honest, to feel comfortable enough to voice this.
I will share. I do get information about events that happen that are not right, and I wish they were more publicized.
Thank you.
Not picking winners and losers here, but I'll just use your own words, and I'm not an attorney, believe me.
Thank you.
The first time it happens is one time too many for you not to report, because I'm an elected official. I'm an elected city councilman. Somebody's going to ask me questions, but if this was the school district, you can bet parents are going to be asking the school districts. And there's a term, throwing people under the bus. You don't want to be the person they throw under the bus because you didn't do what your normal protection for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If I was aggressive or harsh, but I needed to ask
No,
those
thank
questions.
you. I appreciate. I'm here to be a student of life, so thank you so much. And I think I'll stick to that. Okay. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Durant. Dr. Davis, do you want to speak now, or? Yeah, absolutely, you can. Yeah, that's my style too. Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Just a clarification. If anybody wants, as I understood from Mayor, anybody wants to speak in public comment, they can, and they will not be denied the opportunity to speak in the future.
That's
correct?
absolutely right, yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you.
something triggers, and you want to come back up like Ms. Durant or Josiah, if you want to come back up after we start going through these items, you're certainly welcome to come back and participate in the conversation. Ms. Luann Rocha? Thank you. And then followed by Deborah Gallagher. And then
So-
Roberto Garcia.
I'm following up on the written comments that I provided already. And as I said, I've lived here for 34 years, raising my family, serving my community. And currently, I'm serving as the co-vice chair of the OPAC nonprofit. I did present my written testimony, which we also did share with the staff on July 1st. I understand that Terrell was out of town, but we did communicate with them on our concerns and would like to provide additional oral testimony. The theme of my testimony is to address the importance of collaboration when two organizations are tasked to work together. And the benefit for us is serving our Oxnard community. To be effective collaborative partners, we must have clear, open, and honest communication, or collaboration can't exist. Unfortunately, clear communication is not happening. Which has resulted in distrust of each other, OPAC and Sterling, misunderstandings, and our inability to right now, I feel, effectively work together. If both parties do not commit to making the partnership work, we all fail. OPAC cannot serve our community and deliver our mission. Sterling cannot earn revenue from the bar and security services. Ultimately, the residents of Oxnard lose out. Our community will stop using the facilities, and the city loses a revenue source. The City of Oxnard staff has been tasked with creating structures, which we're discussing tonight, to make a partnership effective and streamlined. Collaboration will not work if both parties do not commit to honesty and respect. Without trust, we cannot work together and resolve conflicts as they arrive. As a board member, I have lost trust in Sterling Ventures. My lack of trust and confidence in this partnership working is based on the alcohol policy violation that occurred on June 7th, 26. Sterling sent 3 reports from security guards to the city staff that stated OPAC staff allowed violators back into the venue. As a governing board member of OPAC nonprofit, I have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that OPAC staff complies with all city policies and upholds the standards of our organization. The chair, Gary Davis, and myself held an emergency meeting and requested that staff show us Sterling reports, our reports, and the video footage, the security footage from the 6/7/26 event. Thankfully, OPAC staff did not violate city policies. We backed up our evidence with a staff report and security camera footage, which provides the evidence that OPAC staff entered at 6:38 p.m. without the violators. We did not bring them back in. Contradictory to the Sterling reports, at 7:03 p.m., the security guards escorted the violators back into the venue. It's all on the security footage. I take any actions that could damage the reputation of the OPAC nonprofit very seriously, especially when those actions are taken by one of our partners. I would like to regain my confidence with Sterling Ventures. The City of Oxnard staff, OPAC nonprofit, and Sterling Ventures have been working for a year on creating 2 contracts where we can deliver our respective services with each party's roles and responsibilities clearly delineated. As an OPAC board member, I am committed to making the contracts work. However, only under the condition that both parties commit to a trusting partnership based on honesty and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rocha. Deborah Gallagher, followed by Mr. Garcia.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council Committee. Can you hear me okay? My name is Deborah Gallagher, and I serve as Secretary of the OPAC Board of Directors. I appreciate staff's presentation and the opportunity to participate in tonight's workshop regarding the dual operator framework for the Performing Arts and Community Center. OPAC remains fully committed to working collaboratively with the city to ensure this facility thrives. As board members, we have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure OPAC remains financially sustainable so we can continue delivering youth arts education, community programming, and affordable access to this public venue. Tonight, I want to focus on two deeply interconnected areas of concern: the financial reality of the proposed revenue changes and the operational risk to customer experience. Number one, the real financial impact on OPAC and renters. Tonight's report outlines a transition to a 60-40 meeting room revenue split in favor of the city, along with the implementation of Facilitron. When you factor in Facilitron's 10% platform fee, which gets passed directly to the public, OPAC's effective share drops to roughly 30%. Based on our annual rental volume of over 400,000, that 10% platform fee alone imposes approximately 40,000 in brand new costs onto the families, local businesses, and grassroots nonprofits renting our spaces. At the same time, receiving roughly 30% of each rental dollar drastically reduces the revenue OPAC relies on to fund local arts education, employ local staff, and support initiatives like the Oxnard Cultural District. We respectfully ask the committee, has the city analyzed how this combined financial reduction impacts OPAC's long-term ability to deliver community programming? Number two, customer experience and the friction of overlapping bookings. Our rental clients aren't corporate event planners. They are local families planning weddings, quinceañeras, and memorials, often for the first time. When we surveyed over 100 of our renters last year, they made it clear that they don't want a transactional booking portal. They rely on dedicated bilingual in-person staff who answer the phone, walk them through complex event layouts, and offer flexible payment options like cash. Regarding item 2 on room bookings, the city's own data shows that OPAC manages between 95 and 97% of all meeting room rentals. Giving two separate operators overlapping booking authority for the exact same meeting rooms introduces real risk. Should I stop there?
Keep going, go ahead.
Okay, I'm almost done. Go faster. It creates compelling quotes, duplicate communications, customer confusion, and friction over who manages room setup, supplies, and safety. A venue processing over 600 complex events a year requires single point management to ensure consistency, safety, and high customer satisfaction. OPAC supports thoughtful modernization when it truly adds value. We simply ask the committee to carefully weigh these financial realities, preserve the high-touch customer service our community values, and ensure the final contract structure sets both your nonprofit partner and the public up for success. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration. Any questions?
Absolutely, Councilmember, go ahead.
Specifically on the 60-40 split.
Your microphone.
Apologize. Specifically on the 60-40 split, when was that first voiced? When was that first agreed to? When was it first discussed?
Committee Member Perello, we discussed that during January. That was one of the items that we workshopped then, and the committee provided us with the direction to move forward with the 60-40 split, We would revisit it in a year, and that split was to cover the cost of Terrell's staff and their management of the operations. Because our original intention of going out to bid for an operator of this facility was we wanted to wipe our hands of it. We wanted nothing to do with this building, hand it over to an operator and they manage it.
Okay.
With this new proposed two-operator system, we need to account budget for city staff and their oversight of it. So the 60-40 split was one of the items that the committee members agreed to, and we would revisit it in a year, year one of the contract that it's executed. And the use of Facilitron was also discussed in January, and the committee members agreed with it. It's the booking facility that we use for all of our parks reservations. It's a city tool and resource that is being used, and it was discussed during that committee.
So this meeting tonight will,
It's not discussing that. I mean, if it's the committee's discretion, we can reopen negotiated items at any time, but that will keep extending the negotiations and they will never end. So I do not make the recommendation that if the committee made decisions in January, we do not reopen the negotiations on that.
that sounds wise. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gallagher. Mr. Garcia?
The library is closing in 30 minutes. If you need a library...
Let's not have everybody rush out at once for this library card.
It sounds like they're coming right out of this iPad, right there.
You would ask everybody right now if they did not have a card to go get one. So, if you do not have a library card, please raise your hand and we can have, you can apply as soon as his comments are done. We would like you all to be members of the library in this great, wonderful spot here.
Your microphone, I think, too. I think your microphone, Mr. Garcia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm not a great speaker, but I must just take a few minutes, maybe just half a minute. I've been the promoter of the Mother's Day Mariachi Festival for the last 25 years. Altogether, it's been in existence for 36 years at the OPAC. Every time, every day. We had great events, except this year. It was just a completely disaster, completely. In many ways, communication, tickets were not available, staff, no staff, bed production, sounds, you name it. It was just completely, they blocked the front rows for, I don't know what reason, the computer error or something. People assumed those tickets were sold. Not at all. We find out they were completely blocked. People want to buy the front, they couldn't buy them. So in summary, we lost about $20,000. That was part of my investment, and I just feel that there's something that you can do to correct this problem that we had. And I heard other people, just being a little upset. I'm not upset because I don't really get angry. But I can say to the public, this is the last time that I bring Mother's Day Mariachi Festival to OPAC. So we requested a meeting with Lance, and we haven't heard from them since May the 10th. We said, can we sit down, can we go over the financial status and what happened to come up with a little consensus agreement? There was no response altogether. So maybe they're here now, maybe they'll remember that we did send a request to speak to Lance personally to air our concern before, even during the event. I even sent a little message to the mayor coming in because the place was filthy completely. There were no people cleaning up the place. There were people that were working, but not for the day. So anyway, I'm a little concerned about the future of OPAC. You go into the parking lot, you got weeds this big. That's terrible. This is the image of Oxnard, OPAC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Yeah, go
Mr. Garcia, did you share the information that you've given us to the city?
ahead.
You shared it with Sterling, I understand from what you said?
I request a meeting with Lance right away. I did send a text to the mayor stating, can you come and see what's going on here today, just so you can find yourself what the problem is here? But there was no response.
Okay, but the reason, I'm sure you're a very prominent and well-known businessman, and you know that there's an agreement with the city and Sterling in this facility.
Yes.
And that's why I asked. You didn't share this information with the city of Oxnard?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mr. Eduardo Huerta? Thanks, Lalo, coming up.
Good afternoon, guys.
Afternoon, Lalo.
So, just a reminder, I think that we probably need to revisit negotiations with this contract. I know that when Tim Flynn was in office, we pulled and allocated funds from Measure O to open this building, and then we rented it out to Sterling and obviously the OPAC. So I think there should be a revisiting infrastructure-wise. I think we were supposed to generate $406,000 a year of revenue to upgrades on the city property, obviously infrastructure, roofing. I think the last city council meetings, there was an issue with Phil Medina, the treasurer, and allocation fees and money being misplaced, LMDs, Campus Park. So something happened between 2022, 21 through present time. I mean, we probably lost the oversight over the property. Maybe, it could be our recreational department, nothing against Terrell, but I know that they've been really active in many communities trying to do public events. I know that OPAC takes care of a lot of the publications when it comes down to political publicity with MICOP, stuff to do with nonprofits, cultural events that are well in our community. I strongly, when I ran for office, I personally requested, I think this place was going to be shut down, and then we sold it. We were thinking about selling it for $50 million. Then we raised the property value, and then we decided to reallocate fees to keep it open and keep the properties to avoid sale. So I think the city needs to find a way to invest a little bit of our time and efforts in maintaining the property and support, just like any other property that we manage, support our obviously our renters. I think it's important. I mean, we expect them to give us some of their money for the events they carry, and then we want to have them, I guess we take some revenue from, from their fees. I think it's important that we, invest some money in this property. I think we should show some support. I think Mr. Garcia does really well with his mariachi festival. I think all these different small businesses have really invested a lot of money and effort into this building. And personally, between Sterling and OPAC, this building was open for the community. So I think that between individuals, you guys should find a way to work with each other and be there for the community. I think City of Oxnard, I think the City of Oxnard has given everybody an opportunity to invest in this, obviously in this park, Lions Park. I remember as a kid, it used to be the centerpiece of Oxnard. They used to have the gazebo. You'd be able to rent it for events. I'd be able to use the restrooms inside the auditorium. Due to homelessness, I guess crime, things have changed, but I think we're coming in a new direction. So I think it's just important that we kind of revisit the contract that Tim Flynn did with Sterling and OPAC to kind of just do renegotiations with them to find just a common ground with them. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalo. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, any more speakers?
Chair MacArthur and committee members, that concludes our speakers in person and virtually for this item. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, if it's okay, Katie, maybe we can start with item 1A, which it's event security for gatherings, or Terrell, and if you can speak to the facts and staff's recommendation, and then we'll bring Lance if you want to come up. It's already detailed here, but and then we can hear from Dr. Davis. And anyone else, too, that wants to provide their opinion on this item is welcome to come up and speak.
So, good evening, Chair MacArthur, commissioners. First of all, I want to go ahead and I want to thank both groups for coming up and speaking and being here tonight. And I also want to thank Ms. Rocha because she truly understands what our position is as staff. We're really, to use a recreation term, wearing the black and white striped shirts. We are the referees in this whole thing, and we just want them to go ahead and work together. And I want to remind everybody here tonight, the facility was about to close. And between two groups, rocky relationship, the facility is still open to the public. And we just want to make it better. But moving on to 1A, Reading through it, the city's dance permit provides specific guidance for security-related matters. Staff recommends that the committee support staff's recommendation to maintain the current ordinance and continue to allow operators to pursue a special condition for a dance permit for licensed
Carol,
service.
you skipped 1A
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
for
on 1B.
gatherings. That's okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry, Julie, that's your section. Staff is seeking the committee approval to recommend the security requirements for gatherings which are not defined in city code. So as a reminder, I heard we had one of the speakers mention, to give an example, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses actually carry their own security for their church. Right now, for in the gathering category, there is no definition. So church services, meetings. Sterling's position right now is Sterling supports security requirements for gatherings, including one licensed guard for every 100 attendees and additional crowd management managers at 500 attendees. The nonprofit, OPAC, worked together with Sterling to propose this framework. So the staff recommendation is the auditorium security is required for gatherings with 100 or more attendees within a minimum one licensed security guard within 500 attendees. Staff recommends an enhanced crowd management measures, including an additional trained security guard manager. For large meeting rooms, Oxnard and Ventura, security is required for all gatherings with 100 or more attendees with a minimum of one licensed security guard. Gatherings with 500 or more attendees also require an additional trained crowd manager. Small meeting rooms, due to the size of occupancy of these meeting rooms, security is not required for gatherings. Courtyard events must comply with the existing security requirements for alcohol, entertainment, or dance events. Elevated risk events, if an event is determined to be present elevated operational or public safety risks, additional security guard may be required regardless of attendance or thresholds. This information was recommended by both groups, and it was ran through our fact officer, Scott Swenson, who I think is gone right now. He's retired, his second retirement. But Scott did recommend these also along with staff. So we would be looking, moving forward, we'd be looking for guidance from you all to say that there would be a modification or you agree with this.
Thank you. Dr. Davis, do you have anything to add to this particular item?
And Chair MacArthur,
Yes,
if Dr. Davis decides to come up, I just want to add that this is actually an item that we're in agreement
I see
with.
that.
We all had questions about security and the standardization. We keep hearing the theme of we need standard operational procedures, standard protocols and policies. And this is in our ordinance. We identified gatherings as, okay, we don't need 4 security guards for a educational district conference of 800 teachers. So this addresses that issue, and it was the same thing for Jehovah's Witness. So if we want to welcome the other members up, but this is actually something that we collaborated on, the spirit of collaboration. This was one that we did agree on.
Both groups did.
Both.
And because right now, the only thing it's entertainment and parties are defined, gatherings were not. And this would define gatherings and ease the security requirements, which both groups were in agreement on. So if anybody would like to comment.
Yeah.
May I ask a question first? Please, Terrell. In hearing what you read in the recommendations under auditorium, security is required for a gathering with 100 or more attendees with a minimum of 1 licensed security guard. With 500 attendees, staff recommends enhanced crowd management measures, including an additional trained trained crowd manager. Okay, for plain English, just for me, 100 people, they have 1 security guard. 500 people, we have 5 security guards plus 1, so we end up with 6.
It's a crowd manager.
Okay, well then but at 500, we'd have 5 security guards and a crowd manager?
No.
No.
Okay, then I think, Mayor, that needs to be clarified so that there is no mistake about English language or whatever. Whatever the numbers are, we need to be,
Yeah.
we treat the left hand the same as the right hand, the head
Yeah.
the same as the feet.
I hear you. I don't see the ambiguity myself, but unless you want to, I mean.
Yeah,
it
they
seems
would
pretty
require
clear.
a crowd manager for 500
Yeah.
councilmen, plus 1 security guard. Yes. Yes, so 100 would,
No.
so, wait.
Okay.
So it would trigger a security guard. Yeah, okay. go ahead.
Julie
Jaffe.
can speak clearly on this.
Good evening, Chair and committee members. Julia Estrada, Culture Arts Manager. I'm worked with Scott on this. So based on the type of meeting or gathering or training or conference that's happening, what it was determined is they're very low risk events.
Correct.
So with any event, there is always a PD review. They can determine whether or not it's an elevated risk and increase these ratios. But for the most part, a lot of these events are very, very low risk. And so it was. So this ratio was reviewed by the de facto officers and deemed that it would be appropriate for these types of events only. Once something is requesting a bar, for example, they've now moved into either a dance, entertainment, event permit process. This is strictly just for meetings, and it will allow those tenants who use a facility not to get burdened with such a high security cost for our current ratios, which could mean that the school district has to pay for 8 security guards for a truly low-risk event. So it is based on our minimums, which would be 1 security guard for any event over 100 people. And if that any particular event exceeds the 500 mark that we have for all of our events, they would need to have a trained crowd control manager on site. That way, if there is ever an incident, PD has a crowd control manager to work with in those emergent situations. But what the gatherings is offering is a 1 security guard minimum for anything over 100 people. And if it were to exceed, we would implement a secondary security personnel. These will work in conjunction with ushers and the event organizers to help control any conflicts as well. So it is in conjunction with the renters in an effort to make use of the facility a little bit more affordable and realistic for our community members who rent the facility for these types of events.
So council member, it's not for every 100, it's 1 security guard for 100, and after that, if he passes the 500 threshold, then it's a crowd manager.
Okay, so we would have 1 security guard and 1 crowd manager for 500 people.
Correct.
Yes, and the 100 triggers the security guard.
Okay. The reason I asked the question, if this is what both sides have agreed on and the city is in compliance with this, I just want to put this, I'm not looking, I'm not trying, I'm not saying the sky's falling, but I read what just happened in Seattle. And in some of these events, when things are happening, there are going to be people asking, are we going to have a metal detector going into these buildings? I don't want something to happen in our facility to put any nonprofit, private business, or residents in the city of Oxnard at risk. That's why I asked the question, and I do have pause. If this is what has been agreed, both parties and the city, I'll go along with it. But I need to share, I can't sit here like a I can't just sit here like a dummy and not say that. I need to share that, because I know that I am not the only person that listens to the news. And this happens across our country. We've been fortunate here in the recent years not to have an incident like that, but I
And
appreciate.
Bert, just to elevate some of that concern there, we have the elevated risk events. So let's say it's someone high profile that's coming to make a speech. And so while it may be a lower risk gathering, police may review this event permit and say, you know what, this could cause some controversy. We are elevating the risk here and putting a requirement for more security guards there.
And I have the total utmost respect for you and the work you do, but I'll just bring two issues. We just had a religious organization that somebody went and shot up a religious organization. And the other one is the event in Seattle was simply a food event. It wasn't a controversial event. And I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I don't want to be the person that goes, when there's an event, as an elected official, go, I'm sorry this happened and my heart feels for you. I'm just poisoning those things. No disrespect to any individual in this room by saying that.
Councilman, if it's a food event and they're having food, entertainment, that kind of thing, that would trigger the normal security guards.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification.
Mayor, and if I may, I think I wanted to also uplift some of the comments that were made tonight and comments that we also received via public comment. I appreciate the conversation around the standardization, the consensus between two groups. I think similarly as Councilmember Perello is alluding to the risks, right? The risks that are put on the city, but also the risks that of public safety within our community, especially when it comes to youth, other members of our community that are navigating the space. And
The library is closing in 10.
And so I wanted to kind of get a better sense. I know there's been a lot of questions regarding the security itself, right? In terms of the safety, the unreliability, as well as I think the example that was used with the machete and needing to contact OPD. And I just wanted to get a bit of clarity on where we're at now with the current security that is going to be operating, very supportive of having security, but wanting to make sure that if, you know, we are hiring specific security companies, I know they're licensed, but it seems like it might be an operational issue, a risk. And so wanting to get a bit of clarity. And I know that another comment that was made is that a lot of these positions are outsourced. When it comes to, you know, an elevated risk event, I'm sure there's going to be a level of communication that's needed. So being able to communicate and conversate with community members in a variety of different languages, de-escalation tactics, which I think we talked about in our last meeting. It seems that there's still not that reassurance from community to feel safe in the space. And I want to make sure that although we're talking specifically about you know, how many security guards would it be available based off size, I wanted to just provide clarity for the public on some of the issues that have been raised regarding the current security system that we do have.
So Councilmember Perez, I'm going to ask Lance to go ahead and come on up and speak a little bit about his security.
Sure. And then Maria, you'll go after him and Dr. Or do you have something now?
I have a question. So also too, we'll give clarity for these incidents, but as the policymakers, we're seeking direction from you. So we did hear in January about we need the standardized reporting. And clearly that issue came to light again because for the June 7th issue, there was 2 different security reports issued. So we hear you loud and clear. We're working towards that. For specific security incidents now, Lance can speak to that. But I don't want us to go too far off of the path of what we're asking for you as policymakers here. Yeah. We don't want to make this a trial. We can work out the details there and report back to you, but we want specific direction, and we do hear the need for the standardization and protocols and reporting.
Thank you, Katie. Lance.
Hi. Did you have a question?
I think as mentioned, just the concerns that folks have raised regarding the current security company
Well, all
that's
of our securities are licensed and verified to be in Oxnard. The issue I have is we're making these rules and then telling some quinceañera mom she has to spend $2,300 on security. And that's where this is stemming from, because that's not feasible. And I'm not speaking on our behalf. Like, I'm sure you could talk to the police department. You get no contact with us. Of course, I'm not going to defend a guy with a machete. I'm sorry. That's not my job, and nor is that my staff's job. That's a police job, and then we would call the police. Would you want me to start handling guys
I
with
think
machetes
the
and guns?
example that was mentioned was that there was no presence at all.
Well, that would be solely because we asked them. We're just a facilitator. If you tell us you want 23 security guards, we'll give you 23 security guards. That becomes prohibitive with today's pricing, and that's what we're running into. So we've gone to security guards, and where they are, where we do feel like it is a necessity, we insist that people have security. But if they're not requiring on the security guard, we go with the minimum requirement that's required by the city. So I'd love to talk to you about instances, but I'm not here to cast aspersions. I work with the nonprofit fine. We don't have a problem with the nonprofit. If they have a problem with us, I don't want to be the referee. Hence, that's why you're the referee now, because every time I was a referee, it just turned into a city council. They'd accuse me of something. Obviously, there's no proof of anything they're accusing me of, but it's just the smear tactic. And this is what it is. I'll put 10 security on. I'll put 20. That doesn't bother me. It just is, the base minimum is $29 an hour. So that could be, like, that could end up costing you 40 in overtime or 60 in overtime, which make it
The
like,
library is closing in 5
can talk to any specifics that you want me to, but generally our issue for this security issue is, to my knowledge, we aren't a security issue problem. In particular, did I make mistakes? I make mistakes all the time. But I can fix the mistakes I make. But like on personnel issues, I can't address that in front of you. I wouldn't do that to him, nor would I do it to anybody. That's not right.
Thank you. Maria, did you have a comment? You want to come up?
Yes.
Okay.
So my question is, when there are 300 children, 40 employees, is one security guard at only the front entrance enough? That's my first question. My second question is, we pay a flat amount of money for the minimum security that is required. So that's why I have my question, because we pay a very fixed amount of money. There's never been any type of conversation about, hey, if you guys want more security guards, how many security guards are appropriate for 300 children, ages 6 through 11, 40 employees? Is one person enough? Because on Monday, this past June, there was only one. Tuesday, when we realized that that back parking lot, which there is a trailer there, someone lives back there, when we realized that there was no security guard, we brought it up to Kim on Tuesday. He said, oh, you guys want another one? Oh, yeah, I can get you guys another one on Wednesday. That's my question. What is the appropriate thing for children? I think children are the most high-profile type of client you can have because they're under our care.
Sure. Go ahead, Councilman.
Did you let anybody know there was going to be 300 children and 40 adults?
We've been doing, yes,
advance?
we've been, this is our we've done 7, we've rented the venue 7 times. We have never had an issue about security until these last 2 times.
Okay,
Under
but my question is, you did, I'm just at yes or no. I'm not
Yes.
trying to grill you, but you did tell somebody in advance there's going to be 300 kids and 40 adults.
Yes, all of this is said into advance into all of our contracts. We have a multi-year contract with the school district, and we have our time reserved from now until 2028.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you. Dr. Davis, did you?
Oh, this is yours, okay.
I didn't want to leave you out. Did you have something to add?
Yes, good evening. I am Gary Davis. I serve as chairperson for the OPAC Nonprofit Board. Once again, good evening to you, and thank you for hosting this event. This is helpful as we move this all along. It's been a while. It's taken a while, but it's important to you and to the community that we do this well. As far as this issue, the first issue before you regarding the security guards, yes, we've had collaborated in a positive manner, both with city staff and with the Sterling representatives. We agree to give this a try to the new definition of and new requirements for security for the gatherings. I would say, though, on behalf of the board, as we move this meeting along, and I think city staff would agree, there is still a lot of discussion that is needed around security guards. It isn't just the formula so much. It is the protocols, the procedures, when they have these events. Who does what, when, under what circumstances? How is the host of the event notified if there is an incident? What is the relationship between the security guards provided by Sterling and the event attendants provided by the OPAC? Those kinds of things, and we're not here to discuss that tonight. Those are the nuts and bolts of where we're going. But my point is, we know where we're going, and we look forward to those kinds of conversations. So I guess my point would be, the issue of the security isn't finalized. We do agree, we understand that in the new contract, Sterling will be the sole provider of the security guard services. There were other options, we discussed those, and also, as Ms. Estrada explained, the formula for the gatherings, we appreciate that attention. So we'll continue the conversation. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
And
Thank you.
Chair MacArthur, I just want to add that Dr. Davis and our staff have a meeting scheduled for August 10th, so based on the direction here tonight. So based on the direction we received from you this evening, we will start drafting those security documents and getting the security protocols down in collaboration with our operational partners.
I appreciate that, because I do hear Ms. Durant, when we talk about children like that we have a formula. There should be some open conversation, some dialogue, where if you are requesting more to have that conversation, though there's a cost associated with it, but at least you can have those discussions, right, as to what you want to do or how many is sufficient or adequate for your needs, Maria.
Yeah.
There should be some language in there to support that.
I mean, a lot of this was not intended for the schools.
Sure.
It was intended for the churches, because we lost that annual contract that we had for years because of the security issue. And did we get it back yet, or they went somewhere else? Because we decided to put our foot down and insist somebody bring like 23 security guards for a party of 1,500.
Correct.
Which is a church service, and now that costs the city annually, probably $44,000, and it costs us the same. But the issue for you is, we want to dictate the minimums. Somebody can have as many security, and a lot of the guys like the church, what they do is they bring in ushers.
Correct.
Because that's where you go crowd management, because in the state of California, there is security, and then there is crowd management, which is under the fire department rules. And that's what we're worried about, for people to escort people out if something bad happens.
Correct.
But we cannot act as a police force. That's the city's job, not
Right.
our job. And if we infringe on that, we end up alienate the police force also.
I get that.
Right,
I appreciate what
and
Julie
that-
mentioned about keeping costs down for the person looking to book a facility. Go ahead, Katie.
And I was just going to say, Lance's comments are a great segue back to our staff recommendation for this, that both parties have established the security minimums for gatherings, and we also have the support of our now retired fact specialist that signed off on that. So if you have any additional questions or comments, or do we want to?
We can proceed if it's okay with the committee. We can proceed to item 1B.
Okay, so is staff going with, are the committee members going with staff's recommendation? That staff recommend?
Yes,
I skipped it.
unless there's opposition to it. I mean, it sounds like they collaborated. They both agreed on this particular item. So I don't see any opposition to it.
I can go along with it. I'd like to make two comments,
Sure,
but
go
I
ahead.
don't know about Councilman Perez.
Councilmember Perez?
Councilmember Perez.
Okay.
Okay, just the two comments. With respect to, as Mr. Sterling representative mentioned, security and ushers, does that put the city at any more risk with insurance? I don't need an answer tonight, but I want somebody to look into that. And the second is, with the respect to 300 kids, 40 adults, it still falls underneath my understanding in the auditorium, if it's the auditorium. It's not a dance event, so it would still be one security guard and one trained manager, so it'd be two people. So is there going to be something different where we count kids as, instead of half of an adult, we count a kid as two adults? I mean, I'm serious.
Everybody who walks through the door is considered
Counts
as
right.
one. And I just want to just make one more clarification. So this gatherings is for meetings. This does not include any sort of theater performance. Theater performance fall under either entertainment or event security
all right.
requirements, which are higher ratios.
Okay.
But for just a gathering, a meeting, a rehearsal, we want to be able to lower those requirements and have that clear definition so that Sterling, as a security agent, is able to properly give, here's your minimum requirement. And we just didn't have a definition prior. So this is officially giving a definition that we can write into the contracts.
Thank you. I'm satisfied, thank you.
I envision like, Councilman, I envision like, I don't know, the Realtors Association, 300 people showing up, something like that. There's
Exactly.
very basic. Yeah. Okay, Councilwoman? anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and as just to kind of provide some clarity, I'm with the understanding that OPD has its role and not infringing on what their roles and responsibilities are in our community, but definitely I'm looking forward to hearing more about what nuts and bolts are cranked out regarding the line of communication between to facilitate what's happening at this space and what's needed, if any action is needed to be pursued.
Thank you. So we'll go to 1B.
So 1B is mine. So item 1B before in the packet is our dance permit and the special conditions clause within the dance permit. So currently the dance permit that is for the facility does have very high ratios for security. That this item is not necessarily something that an agreement will regulate, but we did want to share with the committee here that the requirements established by city ordinance does require one security guard for events over 50 people up to 100. So in that 50 to 100 range, you do have to have one security guard, and then it's an additional security guard for every 50 people, which, as you can imagine, are quinceañeras and wedding receptions and birthday parties. That ratio and security guard requirement can jump really high, really fast. So,
Hey, Lalo, real quick, Lalo, Mr. Huerta, maybe if you want to take that conversation outside, right, so we can hear what's happening.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. No, I was just telling Mr. Huerta. No. No one. It's just Mr. Huerta. Oh, absolutely. If you can let her finish, and then
I just need, let me get through the explanations first, and then we'll, thank you. So on this item, Sterling and the nonprofit both have raised concerns, again, with the required ratios. And our recommendation is that we just maintain the current security ratios per the ordinance, but we will support both agencies on applying for a special condition with their dance permit. Upon separation of this contract, each entity will have to get their own dance permit. And with that, we can submit a security plan for a special condition on security requirements. And through the process, we can work with both agencies to develop that security plan. And city staff will assist them in going through the process of getting that special condition with their dance permit for this facility. But it isn't something that necessarily the agreement's gonna mandate and regulate, but it is something that's already established in city policies. So we will work towards resolving this item through the dance permit process with licensing services and planning.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, at this point, we'll take some discussion. Mr. Garcia, do you want to say something on this item?
I think it's important thinking about the importance of working together. This teamwork takes people to get together. Yeah, we did have a concern with Lance and Comm. And talking to my primo, the owner of Cabo Restaurant, he's a big company that brings about 10 or 15 major productions, 4,000, 5,000 people. And his last experience with OPEC, it was real bad. He only made $200 profit. The rest was OPEC. So again, if we don't bring us together and work things out, the city is losing, the community is losing. So again, I'm not interested in coming back next year to bring our most traditional Mother's Day Mariachi Festival to OPEC, unless things change. And I'm open-minded to sit with them and talk about finding a way to find a good solution for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Lance, do you want to speak on this item at all? I see that you mentioned that you have some concerns about the high security costs for lower risk private events.
Yeah, I mean, that's my security. We don't make money on security. We just book it. And the problem is, when everybody sees these bills, it sounds staggering when you have an event, and you know this better than I do, you guys can answer it. We might have a quinceañera that's what, $2, $3 grand, and the security will be $2 or $3 grand, which makes them, we chased off all of them, right? Do we have any left? And it's just like we chased off the Jehovah Witness. And I just think that it's hard for me to sit here and represent that they have to follow these rules when I don't agree with the rules. Like for the Jehovah Witness, I really wanted to rectify that before we lost them. And, because that's money out of your pocket and money out of my pocket and money out of the staff's pocket.
So, Lance,
Yes.
specifically for Jehovah's Witness, that was the last item for gatherings.
Oh.
So
No, I
everyone's in
understand that,
agreement.
But I need them to understand that because they put us through that, we lost them, they went somewhere else. And even though we correct it, the chances of us having to find, it may take us 2 or 3 years to find another church to go in there on a Sunday. Because the Jehovah Witnesses, have been here long before I was here.
Yes.
They were there forever. And that's all of a sudden the rules, when we took over, all changed. And now they're enforcing all of these security rules, and we seem like we're the bad guys. We're the ones that and there's a young lady here, that we have a very detailed, when I see your video, it tells me what the labor is and what everything is. I apologize, if you have your event there, I'll work with you on that one, and my new salesperson will work with you to walk you through what it is, because it's laid out on the security, on the staffing. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not supposed to. But that's where I'm saying, our intention is not. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely. But in general, if you look at how many times the police have been called in there with all of the events we do, and we're getting queued up, and a lot of the changes we're making is because, I don't know if you look, we have Todd Rundgren, War, Pancho Sanchez. We have like over $1 million in concerts coming up. And we want to protect that, and I want to know if the rules are changing, and because when I do an offer for Todd Rundgren, which is $50,000, that was done almost a year ago. And if we change the rules and my expenses go from $27,000 to $45,000, then just like with everybody, we start losing money, and I can't go back and renegotiate with our clients. And when we change things, I can't renegotiate when we decide to change a rule. And it might be for the best, but we aren't a big enough company to absorb that kind of money.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And Chair MacArthur, so in alignment with what was mentioned, we're all in agreement with the gatherings, so that will address the Jehovah's Witness. We closed that item. We're on the dance permit special conditions, and Julie just spoke to that there is an administrative route that people seeking a dance permit can go through to change the security requirements. And Julie, am I summarizing that adequately? So what we're recommending to the committee is we just continue offering that process this evening. Now, as you've heard, there are concerns about costs for security. We don't recommend for the dance permit changing any of the security requirements there. However, there is the pathway administratively for them to get their permit reviewed by PD for their dance permit, and PD can make that determination of changing the security requirements. So we're recommending to the committee that we just keep that process as an option.
Yeah, come on up, Lolo. Just come on up there.
So is it a city property, or are we, let's say if there was an accident, let's say somebody got stabbed in an incident, are we liable, the city liable for, let's say, injury costs?
I'll defer to our city attorney for that particular question.
I had an incident with me involved, and so I'm just, sorry.
The general rule is that if there's an accident, the city will be sued in any case. We believe that based on the context we have, that we should not have liability, but we are the deep pocket, so we always get sued. That's the basic rule.
So my suggestion personally is that we, working with vendors with our school district, we have obviously she's having issues with students, right? And safety, public safety. We just uplifted our senior resource program. So I'm sure we can figure something out with the school district and figure out some type of funding where at least her event's covered with security, maybe having some officers during these events when there's kids involved, something like cultural events that involves the city. It's our property, so we are responsible. It kind of just takes the middleman away, and we have more full control of the property itself, working with Sterling on events as well. I mean, there's liquor involved. It protects their licensing, their insurance fees, and everything as well. I think it still gives us control of the property. In case there's a water leak, anything that needs fast response, we're there, we're on site, we take full responsibility. At this point, it seems like we've had issues with infrastructure in the past. Yeah. So it seems like right now with a lot of our consultants and third parties, we're kind of just trying to reorganize ourselves.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Juan.
I'm not really here on this agenda, but I just want to remind people that sometimes everybody's talking about the money. What is the price of a life worth? So maybe the city should implement a 2 minimum. I personally had experience where I had to help single police officers, Maria Peña, like I told you. Yeah. They couldn't handle, even a police officer by themselves couldn't handle a subject. 2 other times I had to help other officers, 2 the last time in Calexico. So what is a life worth? I mean, people say, well, it's going to cost more, but what does a funeral cost? You know, so maybe we just need to kind of make sure they have a minimum of 2, because one person will not be able to handle 400 kids. Remember, there is shootings in elementaries and kids come in with guns, and sometimes it's better just to be on the safe side and protect life. Maybe require just have 2 minimum, because sometimes one person can't handle it. Even trained police officers, like I told you, they get overpowered by some of these, people on substances, and it's better to save a life than save some money. So, because it seems like everybody's talking about the money. I think the real concern is here, the safety. Even though they're children have gone to school with guns and killed people. So, it's better to be on the safe side. If it's going to cost you another $20 more, I'd rather pay somebody $50 an hour than have somebody that I know get shot by, what happens all the time. So think about that.
Appreciate it, Juan. Thank you. Dr. Davis, do you have anything to add on this item? Okay. Any comments or any other questions by committee members?
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead, Lance.
I am taking that comment seriously, because I think what happened was their event was their event. We looked at the rehearsal not as an event, and we should have. In hindsight, I see where that could have fallen through, and I'll fix that.
Yeah.
But in general, we don't want anybody
Right.
to get hurt either. But we do know
Right.
that we don't want to
Right.
overcharge.
Right. And I think that one of the common themes here with the public speakers, Lance, you heard, is a lack of communication, right? It's lacking. Had there been robust communication with Maria in this case and with others, this would not have happened. Also, as well as some of the follow-ups that Mr. Garcia raised, that and we'll talk about this further, about the lack of communication from the Sterling Group with many entities in our community that come to our attention. And that's up here. That needs to be addressed. But what's the pleasure of committee members on 1B?
I'd just like to say one thing. I support the staff recommendation, but I am in agreement to save a few dollars, and potentially have a tragedy is nuts. And I still don't, even with the number, 1 security guard for an event, this is a dance permit, understood. Sometimes people, sometimes, I'm not naive, I wasn't born yesterday. People have a good time and drink in the parking lot, and then you go into the dance. And sometimes people, when they get a little bit too much to drink, can get a little bit dumb. One security guard for an event with 50 to 100 people.
That wouldn't happen at a dance floor.
Okay, but my point is, with respect to what the other gentleman said, things can happen, and I have seen police officers get overpowered by one kid who was not a kid, but the kid was not operating in 8 cylinders. He was under the influence of something. And I don't want something to happen, because in the ultimate scheme of things, I'm a city councilman trying to look out for the citizens of Oxnard's property and assets. I don't want my city sued. As the city attorney explained, the city is looked at as deep pockets. Anybody sues anybody, well, the city's got all the money, let's go after them. I know that Sterling has to put up things that are at risk, liquor licenses, et cetera. I'm not sure what the nonprofit puts up. I'm not sure what the nonprofit carries in liability insurance. I know what the city of Oxnard carries, and even what they are responsible for above and beyond the limit what they carry. I support this, but I don't want to go into this thing naive. There are things that happen, and I mentioned 2 of them. I support this, but I needed to get that off my chest and on the record. Does Councilman Perez have any? I know you've mentioned something about concerns about the type of security and stuff. Do you have any?
No other concerns. As mentioned, I'm looking forward to hearing more because I think we share similar concerns regarding safety.
Is that enough clarity?
Yep,
Keith?
so I have for the record that the committee members support staff recommendation
I support.
for 1B.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if everyone's ready, we'll go to, this is item 2. This is meeting room bookings.
Good evening, Chair MacArthur and committee members. Renee Rakestraw, Assistant Director for CCS. Let me point you in the direction of page 23 in the agenda packet. We have just concluded 1A and 1B, and so we're moving on to item 2, which is meeting room bookings. Sterling is the exclusive operator of the auditorium and wishes to continue to offer convention center options to clients to use the PAC auditorium and meeting rooms as a convention center. Staff recommends that Sterling retain the ability to rent meeting rooms on a first-come, first-served basis. The facts: since 2020, Sterling has been the operator of PAC, and this has provided clients with a convention center rental option, auditorium and meeting rooms together, rented as a package. During that time, Sterling has allowed the OPAC nonprofit to also rent meeting rooms. Between 23 and 25, the OPAC nonprofit managed approximately 95 to 97% of the meeting room rentals, while Sterling coordinated 3 to 5% under this model. Sterling is requesting to continue to the ability to book meeting rooms on a first-come, first-served basis, including in conjunction with auditorium events. OPAC, the nonprofit's position, has requested exclusive meeting room booking authority. Staff's recommendation is to allow both Sterling and the OPAC nonprofit to reserve meeting rooms through the city's Facilitron reservation system on a first-come, first-served basis, while maintaining key administrative oversight of the reservation platform.
Thank you. We'll open up to any comments. Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Thank you again. Of all the issues that have been presented and will be presented to you tonight, I would say on behalf of the nonprofit staff and board, this is most important to us. We were all in the city council chambers in February of 2025 when at least we heard, I was there, that we thought city council gave clear direction to staff to work with us, the OPAC nonprofit, and with Lance Sterling to develop a dual operational model, whereby, as was just mentioned, that Lance Sterling would operate the theater auditorium exclusively, and we would be given the right to operate and manage the 2 ballrooms and the 5 meeting rooms. As Ms. Casey said at the beginning, we have shared collaboration, negotiations for 10 meetings of multiple hours for the past year and a half. We really do want this model to work. We have proceeded on the assumption that the OPAC nonprofit board would manage and operate the 2 ballrooms and the 2 meeting rooms. And here at the 11th hour, we hope it's the 11th hour, not literally the 11th hour tonight, but the 11th hour of negotiations, because we do feel progress is being made. And I hope this isn't just a matter of semantics, as Renee just summarized. If there is an instance, and I'll give you one particularly, we've probably all shared the Martin Luther King Day in the auditorium. A nice event begins there, and then there's kind of a spillover, a reception, a brunch, a mingling of people in the ballrooms. The nonprofit stands very willing and ready to make sure those events continue for our community. No problem whatsoever. But as we hear this recommendation, so there's no misunderstanding, the recommendation is, and I'm quoting, Sterling requests continued ability to book meeting rooms on a first-come, first-served basis. That's what we have now. That's where we are. We've done this for 5 years. That is not what we thought City Council's direction to staff was. We really have thought, in all transparency and honesty, that we would be given the right to manage and operate the rental rooms, the 2 ballrooms and the 5 meeting rooms. But again, on the other hand, if there is an instance where a theater auditorium event needs the other rooms, more than willing, and we would like the language to spell that out. That's okay. No question about that. But as stated, and we don't want to be coming back to staff or to City Council in years to come, to say that Sterling will have the ability to book meeting rooms on a first-come, first-service basis, quote unquote, that is what we have right now. This is totally not acceptable to the OPAC nonprofit board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from committee members? Yes, go ahead, Katie.
Chair MacArthur, Lance, would you like to provide comment on why this is important and why you're requesting it?
Well, I mean, it's basically in protection of the city. So we are trying to move toward having events, whole events. Now, I have to be honest with you, I don't think we ever booked a meeting room. We only booked the 2 ballrooms. And I am kind of okay with if we can write this so that I have access to it, because what I'm fearful of is I don't want not having a ballroom to cause us not to do an event, or to lose a Jehovah's Witness, or to lose something that where someone wants it. And I want to work with them, and they seem to be working together fine. This is all news to me that we're so unhappy with each other, but I am able to work, but the goal is to protect the city's revenue, because if you do the exclusive and we need to go in there, you know, because my job is much different than his job. His job is to take care of residents. My job is to make the city money so that you're not losing money and you can maintain an asset. If that's not important, then, you know, there's a million other ways to go around this, but that's the kind of the directions I've been given in. So if we can come to a conclusion where I can have access for, like, the annual football awards dinners, things that we do, if you can grandfather that stuff in, you know, because I don't think their staff is bad. You know, is Jose still working with you? Yeah, like Jose is a good guy. He has events, you know, and I'm okay with that. But what I'm more concerned with is I don't want something to get blocked, which then causes us not to be able to do our stuff.
And we're perfectly willing to continue to work with on that. I think it is better the language in which this sounds like a different kind of operational model. That's not.
And
That wasn't the intent.
Yeah.
so just to provide clarity, the staff recommendation is protection of the facility as a meeting room and convention center. So convention center, when you're booking a convention, you want theater and meeting rooms. We want to secure that access. So we look through the data. Sterling doesn't book that many. So also for clarity, meeting rooms are the banquet halls and the meeting rooms. Just in the two contracts, it's divided between theater and meeting rooms. So that's why when we say meeting rooms, it also includes the ballrooms for clarity of people who are not familiar with the contracts. And the staff recommendation is to protect that asset of the whole facility being rented. What was simpler for us is the recommendation that Sterling still has access to book the meeting rooms through Facilitron. Now, I will invite Renee or CCS to talk more about that, how we could build it out. But we just wanted, our recommendation is to protect the whole rental of the facility and not block one entity out from renting it as a convention center.
Got it. Thank you. Go ahead, Renee.
A couple of points that I'll add. So I noted the 95 to 97% was rented by OPAC and 3 to 5% from Sterling. In 2025, to give you hard numbers with that, OPAC had 244 rentals in these spaces, whereas Sterling had 8. So that's what we're talking about as far as the consistency or the frequency that Sterling does access these rooms. As far as Facilitron goes, we have the ability to build out Facilitron. So going on Facilitron, you can quickly identify which dates are available, what spaces are available, where the price is. There's that opportunity where we can help in the communication in using that platform.
Thank you.
And the other thing we have to be careful of is the ABC rules, and all the rules say I have to be in control of the kitchen. So I know that that's on the other side. So we just have to be careful that, like, if they have 2 events going on and I have an event and I don't have access to the kitchen, then legally I'm supposed to not be able to do that. So we have to be a little careful because there's all these rules that I have to go through with the health department, with the ABC, fire department. And that's what, I think that's why we left it in there, because that resolves everything. I don't think my 8 events a year matter. I'm assuming 8 of them are awards banquets. But, you know, that, I just, my intent is not to do what they do.
Okay.
And if you guys have to write something.
Madam Clerk, it sounds like we have a virtual speaker as well. Okay, did you want to say something before we take a virtual caller? No? We'll take the virtual speaker, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Oh, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's Carolyn Mullen, Executive Director for the Oxnard Performing Arts and a nonprofit OPAC. I just wanted to add a little bit of detail here. It's complicated having multiple operators or bookers book the same venue. The Performing Arts Center is not a school district. It is not a park. We have a lot of events happening at the same time. Having central booking through one entity can manage the complexities of a venue like ours. So for example, if you have a memorial service scheduled and someone wants to book a quinceañera with loud music, those don't work in harmony. So our rental coordinator can have those conversations with potential clients about the sensitivities of a venue as used as ours, whether it's parking considerations, music and sound bleed, or in the case of Maria, being highly sensitive of a sensitive population that's on site and ensuring security measures are in place. So I wanted to earmark that. Number 2 is a lot of the issues I think we have had over the last 6 years is the muddy and gray nature of 2 entities existing in the same space. So I'm talking about cleaning protocols. I'm talking about resources like toilet paper and hand sanitizers, things like that. And I know that's minor, but it matters. I also think it creates confusion with rental clients on who they go to book these rooms and if they're getting different pricing. depending on who they're talking to. Both entities offer different amenities and additional services. So I think it is much more complicated than just creating a platform for the Canyon to come in and book the rooms as needed, where I think that all of this can be mitigated through conversation and working through our rental coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Go ahead, Terrell.
Yeah, Chair MacArthur, commissioners, part of it is, and what Carolyn just brought up, is actually having the platform of Facilitron. The other part about managing the facility, that's why we've come to a 60-40. That's why the city has to come in and monitor Facilitron, monitor the facility, and respectfully to both groups. They don't always get along. We're there anyway, and we have to monitor this. So if it's going to be, if both groups, and I know rarely that Sterling rents these rooms, but they would have to come through this platform where the city of Oxnard, where we are the administrators of that platform. And we have to, regardless, we have to referee. Hopefully those battles don't come too often, but we have to referee those battles. And that's why we want the platform, and that's why we require the 10%, because we're gonna have a staff person monitor, as well as administratively, we're going to have to look at that platform and make sure things are done appropriately, as well as work with any rental coordinator from Sterling or from OPAC.
Thank you. Any committee member comments? Go ahead.
No, I appreciate the clarity. I think a lot of the concerns that I've received from the public are really around the utilization of Facilitron, the 10% fee, as well as, I guess maybe just one clarifying question for staff. If somebody books through Facilitron, say that they need only a short window of time, 1 to 2 hours, is there a way in Facilitron just to book for that time frame, or does it book it for the entire day?
So the council member, chairperson, right now there are minimums to the rooms without Facilitron. I'm not quite sure what those minimums are. I could bring up Julie to answer those, and then also keep in mind that the utilization of Facilitron, unfortunately, Facilitron does take 10%, and that's passed along to the customer. But that's the same 10% that the high school district uses, that the elementary school district uses, and a lot of other folks use, including our field rental community. They actually have to pay that same 10%.
Go ahead, Julie.
So currently for all rentals in the meeting room side of the facility does have a 2-hour minimum use. So no matter how, you can't book for only an hour. You do have to book for two hours. That's been a minimum that's been in place for a really long time. Facilitron does allow you to adjust what those minimums are. So we will be able to build into the platform the 2-hour minimum block, regardless of which room you're booking, in order to be compliant with our current rental policies.
And Julie, just to clarify and compare to our committee members, the smaller meeting rooms in the PAC, are they around the same rental prices of the smaller meeting rooms, say here or at one of the community centers?
I believe I'll have to refer to Renee on the other prices for the other facilities, but the rates are done through our fee study and have been predetermined. So
I don't know the comparison, but I can look into that. They are set by city council, the fee structure. I will say, and to hit home your question, we're currently using this platform for this meeting space that we're sitting in now and meeting room A, and we also have our South Oxnard branch facility, which has meeting space. And we have community come in. We have internal staff that use this facility as we are here today. We are the administrators similarly in this setting, and you can rent by the hour in this location and see all the details within that.
If I can just provide my opinion, and Katie, forgive me, I'm not supportive of this item for a number of reasons. I think when I look at the school districts or even our own internal staff, to use Facilitron is oftentimes because we don't have the internal personnel to sit there with someone wanting to book a space. We have a nonprofit who is more than willing to sit with that client wanting to rent a space and sit there with them in-person meeting, recognizing our clientele in the city. And I think we've got a nonprofit willing to do just that. We should take it to our advantage as opposed to paying Facilitron 10%, which takes away from the potential profit of.
Mayor, that's so Facilitron, we determined that action in January. So
Yeah, but I'm bringing it back as a concern now with hearing some of the raised, and I'll let my committee members, and also I thought there was clear direction on a dual contract to have the convention center to Lance and have the meeting rooms, the two large meeting rooms, and the other 5 being controlled by the nonprofit. And it sounds like Lance is open to the idea of if we put language in there grandfathering some of these events in, because it sounds very minimal, and it sounds like Dr. Davis and the nonprofit are willing to work some of these things out. And so I don't see what the barriers is to doing something like that if they're both agreeable to do just that, as opposed to having it on a first-come, first-served basis, because it eliminates that fluid conversation with 2 operators. That's just my opinion. I don't know if my colleagues, if they want to opine on this particular item. Go ahead, Councilman.
Mayor, I'll just share a hypothetical. I want to rent it, but I'm under the assumption that I'm going to go through Facilitron. Somebody else wants to rent it, and they want to deal one-on-one. Maybe they feel uncomfortable working with the electronics like I do. I'm not a real swift guy with electronics, but maybe they feel uncomfortable. There's a language issue, so they want to have a one-on-one with somebody that would be for the nonprofit. What happens when we both decide that we were going for the same date, the same time? Who ends up being the judge? As Mr. Terrell said, Mr. Harrison said, they have to wear the black and white stripes. And that's an uncomfortable situation for the city to be in. I would rather everybody uses the same situation. But I have a question, a bigger one to me, because I remember, and Dr. Davis, I appreciate you bringing up the February 25 meeting. I remember that meeting. I remember how bad that meeting was. And I remember how our staff got butchered because they were not allowed to say what happened for the false accusations that were made by a lot of people in the public. I am not singling you out, but a tremendous amount of wrong took place and our staff got crucified. And I understand what the word crucified means. With respect to Ms. Mullins, when she mentioned the hours and the cleanup and the prepare, if I rent the room for 2 hours and this gentleman is going to rent the room for the 2 hours after I have it, and I haven't cleaned it up, who's responsible to clean the room up? Is it my city staff? Or is it Sterling? Or is it the nonprofit? Or is it the party that had it and we take a deposit that they must put up? And then the people that rented it, the gentleman for 2 hours, he loses part of his 2 hours. How do I compensate him? There's got to be some much tighter rules and regulations on this. And the reason I bring it up, I've had some people hotter than hell get a hold of me personally telling me I got to straighten it out because they got a mess. Somebody didn't clean it up. They were there all set for an event in fine clothes and linens, and they're cleaning the floor, and the words were the slop left over by the pigs that rented the room. I remember the lady being very articulate when she told me that. And those are concerns I have. I do think that going through one operator to rent the room is the wisest thing. It avoids, in my opinion, putting somebody in having to be the referee. Just my opinion. I sort of disagree with you on that, Mayor.
Mayor, and if I may, just in alignment with some of the comments that have been made tonight, I think when we're thinking about some of the larger events that happen in our community, it does require a level of communication. If you're planning a quinceañera, it's pretty much like planning a wedding. And so I think there definitely has to be that point of contact in whatever communication style or translation that's needed to communicate with community members in our community. And I know that that was another angle that folks were really concerned about.
Go ahead.
There's one issue that we also have to consider, and Lance can expand on this. Because of the ABC license, he has to have access to the kitchen, and if there is exclusive use given to some other party, it could impact his ABC license and his ability to sell alcohol, which is part of the services and financial structure of this. So we have to be very careful going forward that we don't take that away and impact his ABC license as well.
And Mayor, if I can just, I do remember historically, I remember there was a bar on East Street that was supposed to serve so much food for so much alcohol, and they ended up serving more alcohol than they did food, and they got in hot water because they were not operating as a bar, but they actually, in fact, were operating as a bar. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Zach.
Yeah, that's Cloud 9, I believe, on A Street.
And it ended up having some real
They got their SUP revoked, actually, is what ended up happening in that situation. But Mayor MacArthur, my memory of this exclusive use, this was part of that kind of tension in the February meeting because this came up and there was a comment made that you can have separate alcohol permits, you can have this, and there was a back and forth. But in the research that was done, he has to have access to that kitchen, and this is kind of trying to get to that compromise. I guess I would like to ask from a practical standpoint with Facilitron, and this may be a question to Gary, maybe to Renee, because I understand the point that Carolyn made and the difference between renting this space and renting a meeting room, small meeting rooms of the multiple rooms that are there and that kind of conflict that's there. And it's easy. I want to rent a field. I want to rent College Park. Sure, I go on and I rent College Park. You don't have all those kind of personal sides. So Renee, can you speak to the practical side of implementation of Facilitron?
Yes, through negotiations, this has been a level of conversation as far as how Facilitron will be used since our last committee receiving direction that it was moving forward. So I believe there is an agreement, and you can go ahead and speak up if I'm wrong, but I believe we're at the point that there is an agreement that it can be used on the back end. So we will have administrative use. We'll be the administrators as far as the city. The two operators, or one, however it will go, will use the Facilitron to help communicate those details back to the city. So it will include, in order to finalize a reservation, there's going to be certain requirements that they will need to attach, like a contract, like security, those details to help us ensure that there's compliance with things.
So Renee, in that situation, it's not me, the client, making the booking. It's the event coordinator at the site. So they still have that one-on-one hand-holding that Carolyn's group offers, which is what the community expects and wants and helps with the communication. So they're not, me, the client, I'm not interacting with Facilitron. Would I be even able to see that to know that my date may be available and I want to reach out?
We'll have control of the visibility end of it.
So we could turn that on. So if I'm somebody that, I'm not Councilman Perello and I like to do it electronically and I don't necessarily want to come in and meet with somebody, I want to book at 11 p.m. at night, would I have that ability to at least send a message to OPAC event coordinator, say, hey, I see this is available, I would like to book a reservation? They do it on the back end. I don't actually have to go in.
I think that could be worked out. So having that visibility of what is available, and if it is at 11 o'clock at night, no staff is in the office, right? And
No, I
you're
was talking as
looking
a
and
client
trying to plan a party, and it's 11 o'clock at night. You want to know if this date works, and you jump onto a platform to see if it's available. Not necessarily to book it, but to see if it's available. And then in the morning, you wake up and you begin to work with the nonprofit to book it. The nonprofit will have the responsibility to put it into Facilitron with all the details.
And that's when they would be checking this conflict, because I think that's a great point that Carolyn's making of you're having a memorial service and you're having this other. They look at those conflicts, they then call the client back and they can talk through, hey, yeah, that time's available, but we actually have these other things. This time may work better, and then all those things can still be worked out.
Yes.
Okay. From a city perspective, I'll just tell you on Facilitron, and I wasn't involved in any of these discussions, so I'm not speaking on behalf of any of these people. The reporting aspect side of Facilitron is very helpful.
when it comes to statistics and fact-checking things and just reporting on utilization and going through. I mean, CCS just provided a lot of this data for me as it related to rentals of sports fields and just being able to look at where might there be gaps in services, where might we be able to do more. So, I mean, good data comes out of this for both of these parties as well to be able to report and see. And from a city side, that also helps with the reporting and transparency and for the revenue side that comes in. So I do think there is a large benefit to moving away from how rec used to have to give me that data years ago on spreadsheets, and when there's errors in reporting and not being able to read people's writings, like there's a good data that comes out of using an electronic system and a unified system for us.
And the only thing I want to say, and I know you guys can say it better than me, I hope they never have the ability to book online without contacting them, because that would cause Carolyn and I a big problem. Okay.
And maybe the compromise here that we can work through is perhaps, Lance, what rooms do you use the most with your bookings? Is it the smaller meeting rooms to accompany theater productions? No? It is the Ventura and Oxnard.
There's dual bookings between theater in Oxnard and Ventura. Every dance competition either books one or books both of them. So that's why I was a little thrown off on some of the stuff that was said, because, but also, here's another thing. I mean, I was there by myself.
Yeah. Kim, can you come up to the microphone so this is on the record for the public?
What's that?
Can you come up to the microphone? Because people who are viewing the video can't hear what you just said. Hold on. Hold on.
Your comment was about us booking those other rooms. Do we do the classrooms or we do more of the Oxnard and Ventura, right?
Yes. I'm trying to come to
very
a
few of the
compromise.
classrooms, okay? But many, many times, a theater booking, especially on the weekends, if it's a dance competition, it could be Oxnard or it could be Ventura together, where it's both. So when we do that booking, they book the theater and Oxnard. And you guys see that on the reporting. So, I mean, that's,
Okay.
I would hate to lose Oxnard and Ventura.
Right. So is the sticking point here that Sterling has direct access to book the rooms? Could they work with the city administrative staff? Like, I'm just trying to see how we can recognize.
I think if you leave Gary and I, we can come up with something that will resolve this. Do you feel comfortable that you can? Because my thing is, if they understand my problem's the ABC, my problem is having access to the room, and this is not a lot of exceptions. I have a feeling that somehow, if this becomes the issue, we can resolve it.
And one thing I just don't like is when it says in your first come, first serve, it almost sounds like we're forcing a conversation between the two parties where I think, like Dr. Davis mentioned, he should be consulted with, if we have a dual operator contract, Lance should consult with Dr. Davis and the OPAC and figure out what dates do you want, and then sounds like we've got a commitment from the nonprofit to simply default to give you the days that you want, those 7-8 days. And others that you want, it seems like they will yield, but they just, we want to stay on course to the dual operator contract versus Lance having the ability to simply book a day without conferring with them.
I don't think it has to do with the rental money that we make. I think it has to do with us trying to complete a bigger transaction. And I
Right.
had no issue with them turning away business.
Right. Or maybe just wording it in such a way that allows the dual operation.
Areas that I don't have control over, that makes the ABC a violation.
Yeah, Chair MacArthur, committee members, I also want to remind them, any alcohol or security concerns, so when you have a quinceañera, regardless, they're going to have to speak, and they're going to have to work together. For the majority of the events that OPAC has, and I think I could say that, they have to work together if there's any alcohol or security or both. So they're going to have to communicate and work together. I will say this, and I love these moments where both groups agree to communicate with each other, but Lance does not do the day-to-day at the Performing Arts Center. Dr. Davis doesn't do the day-to-day there. They have staff that do that. And so not all the time are the staff on the same page. And that's where myself, Julie, Renee, Katie, that's where we all come in and actually kind of have to referee these things a little bit. But I can definitely appreciate the commitment between the two gentlemen, and I want it to go well. But I just thought I would needed to say that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's important to add to the discussion. I would just ask this one question. If we are going to do the auditorium and the convention thing, how much in advance do you need? I would ask both of you, how much in advance? Can you say the 1st of January, you know how many events and what date you want? Because I would guess in my mind the answer is no. But if you're booking a specific artist and they're making a loop, you have a better idea, but you don't want to tie up all the dates that prevent the other organization, the nonprofit, from having a date. I mean, it may not be as smooth to work out as it sounds. And the staff, having worked for people, I know when my boss tells me one thing and I'm supposed to do it, and I get out on the road and I say, my boss said to do this, the person on the other side doesn't go, well, your boss isn't here and this is how you're supposed to do it. I don't want my staff, my city staff, to be put in that spot. Both of you. I'm not pointing fingers or anything here.
All I care about is I don't want to be the referee.
Well,
If the
I
city's
care
the
about
referee,
that
that's better
also.
for me.
But I don't want you to lose your liquor license. I don't want the city to get sued. I don't want to have bad blood, and I don't want to have another meeting like we had in February 25.
So what I'm hearing in this conversation then is the ball is volleyed back to staff, city staff, that we need to come up with language that reflects this compromise and provides details on how Sterling will book the banquet rooms if they are needed. Is that,
Correct,
we're
yeah.
all in agreement on that?
And it's to stay in line with the dual operation model.
Dual operator. Sterling will still have access to book the meeting rooms, but city staff here have to come up with a process that the OPAC nonprofit agrees with.
Correct. That makes sense to you, Dr. Davis? Okay.
I defer to Terrell. He actually has to do this.
Terrell says yes.
Terrell says yes. Okay, come on. Checking our time here.
We will do what we need to do. We'll meet with both groups and we'll try to hash something out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And Gary and I commit to we'll meet separately, we'll come up with something so it's not so torturous for him. Because I think it's easy.
For the record, Terrell gave a thumbs up to that.
Okay.
Okay.
And
so,
I just raised the issue personally, but you guys can discuss it with Facilitron if it's not an overreach on our end to try to micromanage unnecessarily and cause undue expenses to a nonprofit when they can see that as a realization of funding coming back in. But I'll leave that up to Dr. Davis and the OPAC and city staff to figure that item out.
Be clear, because I don't understand, are we talking about Facilitron or?
no, we're not talking about Facilitron, but the mayor is providing additional information and things that he wants staff to address for when this contract comes to the full city council.
Correct, ma'am. Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, we'll also do some, I'm sorry, Chair MacArthur, we will also do some background info on us, just, what do those pass-through rates, because some of the smaller meeting rooms, they're not as substantial as you may think versus larger events for quinceañeras, weddings. Anywhere you go for a wedding, you're going to invest some money. So I think there is a big scale of difference between the smaller rooms versus big ticket items that pretty much people all know they're going to have a bigger budget for. But we will get some of that data for you when it goes to council.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Councilwoman, any additional comments?
No additional comments.
Okay. If not, staff, do you have sufficient direction as to where to go from here? on this
Yes.
item? Okay. Then we will move to item number 3, concessions, if staff wants to provide some background on that item.
Yes, absolutely. This item is straightforward. Under the city's existing agreement, we get a percentage, 15% of food and alcohol sales, subject to certain amounts taken out of that gross amount. So as part of our discussions and review, we've determined that based on ABC regulations, we need to tweak the language in the contract. So basically, the language will be changed to indicate that the annual concessions payment made to the city will be an amount equal to 15% of the previous year's gross margins. So that would bring the same amount of money to the city, but it goes through a process that does not violate ABC regulations. So Sterling has agreed to that, and in conjunction with that, the nonprofit agreed to contribute concession revenue. That occurred in our January meeting. So we believe that by updating this language as is required by ABC regulations and by both parties contributing to the concession payments that are made, that this would address these issues and continue to provide funding to help pay for the ongoing maintenance of the PAC.
Thank you, Mr. Rosell.
And just to clarify, this is cleanup language. So this issue originally came up in the February 2025 meeting where someone wrote in public comment and claimed that Sterling was never paying this concession revenue, and they actually were. The city never put that language in their contract. So then we put it in the contract. We discussed it in January, and OPAC agreed that if they were due concessions, but most of the concessions are paid by Sterling anyway because they provide the liquor services. But the cleanup language, when I believe it was Sterling's attorney said, actually, this language does not comply with state law. And our attorneys worked with Lance Sterling to come up with the cleanup language that we can still protect that revenue source. It's the lowest of our goals of revenue for the PAC. I believe this year we're up to a goal of 16,000. So it's not the biggest revenue driver, but we do want to protect that revenue source. So that's why we are suggesting this recommended language change to the committee members.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Casey. I don't have any comments. I'm in agreement with the staff recommendation on this item, but I don't know if Lance or you or Dr. Davis have any additional comments or any members of the public. Okay. Council members, anything?
Just one, I appreciate the cleanup language. I appreciate complying with the letter of the law. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay. Since you have clear
Okay,
direction on this
so
one. Yeah.
we go in with staff recommendation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we'll move to item number 4. This is the city-owned digital marquee at 800 Hobson Way, and we'll have Terrell provide some background on this item.
Yeah, since 2020, Sterling has managed the marquee as part of the overall marketing, ticketing, and event operations of the theater. The OPAC nonprofit would like to have advertising access under a dual operator model. The facts are the marquee is city-owned and a marketing asset. Sterling helped repair and upgrade it in 2020 with the utilization of ARPA funds. We contracted them to do it utilizing these ARPA funds. Sterling's position is Sterling requests continued primary responsibility for the marquee management and scheduling. The nonprofit, OPAC, requests access to promote community-based and signature nonprofit events. The staff recommendation is staff recommends Sterling to retain primary use of the marquee management under the PAC marquee policy, with OPAC allowed to request marquee use for the city-approved signature public benefited events. The city's PAC marquee policy and procedures will be included as an exhibit to both operator agreements, allowing the OPAC nonprofit to request marquee advertising for the approved signature public benefit events in accordance with the established priority schedule. This approach provides consistent management of the facility's primary advertising asset while ensuring appropriate promotion opportunities for both operators and the city. So I'll ask, let me go ahead and ask Mr. Davis to go ahead and come up. We've had some conversations about this.
Okay.
Thank you again. I think what's before us in this issue is very similar to other language issues that we've discovered this evening. The language that staff has presented to the committee, and I'm quoting, that the nonprofit be allowed to request use of the marquee. We have that now. We are asking that we have some kind of guarantee of access. To say that we can request, I personally, on behalf of the board, and Lance, no disrespect at all. We've had our 2 months ago, I asked, I nearly begged, Lance, could we have a little bit of space on the marquee to advertise a particular signature event, the IshigoCon, that is coming up August 15th, I believe. I had the right to request.
Sure.
The answer was no. The answer has always been no. The answer to me, as chair of the board, was there's no time left on the marquee, there is no space time, that all of the time of advertising is to be used for the auditorium's theatrical productions that Sterling puts on. And then, on behalf of the board, and I'm a community member, I drive by that marquee regularly, as you do, I see that on the marquee is advertising for a particular hot dog, burger advertising on the marquee. That's a personal affront. We're supposed to be partners in this. Now, making a big deal about just having access, yes, this is what we ask. We ask that you, the committee, direct staff to craft language that guarantees us some kind of access. To guarantee us that we can request is what we have now. And the answer has been no. Okay. So that's what I'd like to say. And again, Lance, no disrespect, but we don't agree about this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
So before I ask Lance to go ahead and come up, I just wanted to be clear. The policy is going to be set by the city. The request will not go to Sterling Venue Ventures. The request will go to the city of Oxnard, and it will be according to city policy. So therefore, as long as those requirements are met on those signature events and those city-benefited events that the nonprofit does, those would be approved. So I just want to be perfectly clear. We're working as the administrators now between both groups. It's not Sterling acting as they're doing the day-to-day operations as an operator, as well as the nonprofit, but those requests would come to us.
Just a quick clarifying question, or
Sure.
two actually. So will Sterling also have to request that approval from the city for what is displayed on the marquee? And the second question I have is why wasn't the nonprofit allowed to share their previous event on the marquee?
So two things. So, and please let me know if I'm answering your questions. Number one, the marquee is with it. It's attached. Our belief is it's attached to the auditorium. So anything that's advertised on there usually is in relation to the auditorium because of business, advertising, concerts, shows, and events. Why weren't they allowed to? Right now, the contract that we have right now in control over the marquee, as well as every building there, is under Sterling. Sterling has that option because they have control over those things, and we have a contract for that. Now, we're dividing the contract, and now we're going to have two operators, but they have control right now. So it was a request to Sterling to go ahead. Now, I think the third part of your question was what will be allowed on there. Now, I have heard that there's events and things that are being advertised that are not even in the city. According to our policy, that will not be allowed. So the only things that will be allowed are the events in the auditorium and the signature events of OPAC, and then any messaging that the city wants to go ahead and put on the marquee.
Yeah, and I'm just curious, and maybe this is more of the policy question that'll eventually be formalized, but if businesses, right, like Miklos wants to promote what is that process, since they're being allowed to promote their product and their food opportunities versus what we're talking about here related to specific events that are happening at that facility? Or at
So that's being crafted.
So this was one of the many documents that we have to write that I was assigned. So I do have a draft here, and the policy is determining it has to relate back to events happening at the Performing Arts Center. So no other events outside of Oxnard could be advertised on that. And basically, we want to hear your feedback this evening. If you concur with staff's recommendation, that what we recommend is that we support OPAC and their public benefit events being advertised there, then we will work with our partners to finalize the policy. And we will work in collaboration, but it's ultimately up to the city council to approve the contract and the exhibits and policies that are attached with the contract.
I just want to add one thing, but though, from a zoning perspective, you cannot do off-site advertising on the sign. That becomes a billboard. And so we have many samples of, you have the auto center that is not a billboard, it's an on-site sign, and we get public messaging ability on that. Same thing at the collection sign. That's an on-site sign, and then we get some public messaging. So we have a lot of samples of how this can work, and kind of the, I wouldn't say the reverse, but where the auditorium is the primary use and the OPAC could be that secondary use of kind of those public benefit type of ones. That's very different than the more recent billboard agreements that you did, where those are off-site. Those can advertise anything except those few items that you prohibited. Don't remember the prohibited items that were on there, but those are meant to advertise things outside the city or different businesses and whatnot. But that becomes a commercial sign per our code to start to do off-site advertising. So the attorneys are going to definitely have to look at this, similar to that dance permit requirement and security. That is dictated by ordinance. That's not dictated by agreement. So they may both not like how that is, but there are going to be some boxes that are put around this just simply by the city code. And that is not something I can imagine our city attorneys would be willing to open up our city code relating to signage. Those are First Amendment rights that you start to get into a lot of issues with. So I think we have a lot of good examples of how this could work, and maybe those have already been brought to the table and we can work out those. But off-site advertising has to be off the table if you don't want to have a code violation for the sign ordinance in the city already.
If I may just offer my comments under the, just the dual operator model, Ms. Casey, I certainly want to see the OPAC have the ability to access the marquee, but I also understand the marquee is directly aligned with the convention center.
Lance, can you speak into the microphone?
Well, this is where you guys go off and you have these full conversations and you don't know any facts. That marquee was not working. It was completely disabled. I bought the marquee for $27,000. I put it in for $63,000. The city only paid me back for the cost of the marquee. They made me eat $63,000. Then I was blocked from advertising on all other city-owned or city advertising. So the only advertising I have, he can go to the highway. He can go to the car collection. Why? Why can't I go to those? I'm benefiting the city. I'm making the city look good. And maybe you don't want to look good, and maybe you don't want to do concerts. But the point is that marquee I put in for the specific reason to advertise my shows. And then they took away the cars. Then they took away the 101. And that's the only advertisement I've left. So they can go to those places. Why aren't they asking for them? Why do they need mine? Yeah. And the other thing is, if it's the city-owned, why did I pay for it? And I get that you only could pay me back for what it cost, the actual thing, but I'm still out 2 times the amount of money. And that's wrong. I would have paid an advertising. I wouldn't have fixed it if it was just going to. But that's the problem with all of the OPAC, is everybody looks at me to fix things that are not owned by me. They're owned by you guys. And if I managed my facility the way you guys are managing that, I'd be out of business, or you would shut me down. And on this facility, this is very temperamental to me because we had a great relationship, and then all of a sudden we were told, can't advertise on any of the other billboards. So
Understood.
that is the response that you got, Gary. Why are they blocking me on the other ones? Just for the sake of blocking me because nonprofit wants to hurt for profit that hopefully I'm paying you enough guys money to make it worth your while to keep that. But if you choose to demo it, then demo it. But this is idiotic that you would do this. I need to advertise. How am I getting people to come there? I can't advertise, you know, when you see War up there, when you see, you know, Todd Rundgren up there, these are concerts that the Thousand Oaks wants. And the Thousand Oaks isn't doing that to their concerts. Why are you guys doing it? You're almost sabotaging me because you don't want me to be successful. And if that's the case, then why are we doing this?
So I just want to provide some background information for the members of the committee and the public. Lance, so the item before the committee members tonight is the digital marquee at 800 Hobson Way. Separately, the city has an agreement with River Park, the collection, and CenterCal to post certain ads on the digital billboard. That is separate from what you are discussing this evening. CenterCal had Copper Blues there, and there was a conflict of interest of some things that could be there. And anything that is posted at CenterCal needs to go through the city manager's office. So there were some instances where people were not going through the city manager's office to post things there, and that is not the case anymore. So Lance was offended that that happened, and he previously had the opportunity to advertise there, and he does not anymore. So that being said, that item is separate. We're still working on that. I know Copper Blues has closed, so Lance, that is something that I can reopen and talk with the collection and CenterCal again to see what access the city has there. What we're focusing on here tonight is the marquee at 800 Hobson Way. And Terrell will just provide some background on what funded the marquee things, but staff is making the recommendation that because Sterling does make so many investments in paying up front to bring musical acts to the facility, that they should maintain the advertising contract there. However, OPAC is also offering many public benefit events that, and they have a series of ones that are held annually. So they should be programmed into the schedule for advertising there. So that's staff recommendation. And because we have to document everything between the two parties and give clear process and procedures, that's why staff is developing the policy right now. So when OPAC wants to advertise their signature events, this is how it's done. It's emailed 30 days in advance before the first posting date to city staff that works with Sterling to get it programmed into the rotation.
Thank you. Go, Terrell.
So respectfully to Lance, we had a price to pay for the marquee. We had no idea that we thought we were paying what it cost him to actually fix it, and it's fixed very, very well. But I think, and hopefully I can make this correlation, the nonprofit, Sterling uses those meeting rooms a very small percent. The request that I've received from the nonprofit to use the marquee is a very small percent for those specific signature style events. I do not want to hurt Sterling's business, nor do I want to not give the nonprofit access, but I think the access that they're asking for is a very small percent.
So just my thoughts here, after hearing all of that, is just language crafted in this item that reflects that in a dual operator model that the nonprofit has the opportunity to advertise their signature events that have a tremendous public benefit for our community. And it sounds like what Mr. Harrison said, it's it's not a large amount of events that probably will likely be advertised there. So this way we can navigate to not be injurious to Lance and also, but also be supportive to the nonprofit that does tremendous amount of work in our community. So, Councilwoman, any other comments, or Councilmember Perello?
I'm still thinking.
Okay. Any other comments from the public on this item? If not, go ahead, Councilman Peralta. The staff's recommendation seems adequate.
I see the staff recommendations. Mr. Davis's point about they could request, but that it's not been approved, and we have the right to request now, that hit home with me. It also hits home that you paid more than what we thought it was going to cost to build a marquee, and you own it. Okay, and one thing that also hits home with me, and it is not what we're discussing right now, it's that you are apparently denied from advertising on other billboards. I push that gets revisited. But on this particular item, I do feel that we need something more in the recommendation than the ability of the nonprofit to request. There needs to be, in my mind, something specific that allows them to have some specific time or number of events, or I don't want them to hog the thing, but I believe they need more than just the ability to say, Mother, may I? And that's not a disrespect to any mothers. It's Mother, may I have this? Mother, may I have that? When you continually get told no, you go your own direction and do what you want. And I'm not saying either party's going to do that, and I used a stupid example there, and I'm looking at myself, why the hell did I say that? But I do believe that Mr. Davis brought up a good point. If they've always had the ability to ask, but they never get it. A better example, I want to borrow the car, Mom and Dad. No, no, no. Well, eventually, I'm going to borrow the car, not tell them. We were all kids once. I want to have the issue of the word request addressed, that, in my opinion, there is some hard, concrete thing that they are entitled to other than please. I want, but with common sense, you know, what are you saying? Ashley, this is when I get to the point where I'm going to say something. What did I say? Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you. And I, Mr. Sterling, I do understand if you were denied the ability to advertise on the other signs we have. I don't understand why, but I am very interested in finding out why. And if it can be revisited, I want it revisited.
Ms. Casey, can I just ask to, and I don't know if we can explore the possibility, I don't know what the contract looks like with like Center Cal, if it's not a city event, but it's to a significant public benefit, is there an opportunity for the nonprofit or even Sterling potentially to advertise in some of those?
So that's separate
facilities?
from this
Okay.
evening, but we can explore that
Okay.
and come back to you with that.
Thank you.
I commit to you, Mayor, that I will ask to have that put on some agenda or something.
I appreciate it.
Mayor, and I just have one clarifying question for Lance, if that's okay. I know here we're talking a lot about the purchasing of the marquee, and you've made a lot of repairs and upgrades to it. And I just want to clarify, was that purchased made with ARPA funds, or was that your own personal business's funds?
I offered, when I first came in, I told them how important the marquee was to BAC. And they did not have the money to fix it because you guys were in financial distress, so I fixed it. So when my perception of it was, when I submitted, Terrell said submit the bill, I submitted the bill, they agreed to pay for the physical purchase of the sign, but on installation, maintenance, and what they're not telling you is, I have a staff member who, that's his job, so I now have to have my staff member work for other people, and that's what you're saying.
No, I'm just asking if you used ARPA funds to pay for this marquee.
Someone's gotta set it up, they gotta position it so it fits, they gotta schedule it. This is a guy's full-time job, he does all my marquees.
And the clarifying question that I had is if you used ARPA funds for this.
What's ARPA funds?
ARPA.
So-
ARPA.
My funds came from my pocket, so I don't know what ARPA funds are.
To clarify, Julie, what was the amount of ARPA funds that we provided to Sterling for reimbursement?
So in the ARPA allocations, In the ARPA allocations, there was $41,255 spent in reimbursement to Sterling Venue Ventures
How
towards
much?
the repair. $41,255.
Appreciate that, Julie.
What was your number, Lance, that you,
The total for the whole thing to put it up and cranes and all that was 60 plus 27, whatever that is. Was 97 or 87.
got it, okay.
Marquees are not cheap. And when it goes out again, I don't know, but the problem is the maintenance and like I'm expected to do all that. Am I also expected anytime someone wants, they can use my sound system, my light show, my projectors? Is that all city property now? And that's what it's frustrating for me because I'm a business. And like you said, you haven't been sued since I've been there. I've been sued multiple times for things I had nothing to do with, for stuff that happened in the park, for other stuff. And it's kind of crazy, if you think you're the deep pockets, I get sued every minute of the day. And there is a point in time where, like, if the liabilities get too much, they're not gonna insure me anymore. And every time you guys make these rule changes, they change the liability structure, and then it's harder and harder for me to operate. And that's why, just like the city of Ojai decided they wanted to have locals, so now they don't have concerts anymore. So everybody's really upset, but they don't have concerts anymore.
And just to bookend this conversation, Lance has made, and his company have made many investments in the facility that the city has not reimbursed. They have made personally. I know that OPAC has done some as well, so.
$30,000 or $40,000 just in plumbing to pass the health department.
So
And these are the things that
I've spent $9,400.
we are very, very lucky to have operators that are that committed to investing in the building. We are very lucky. Now, in the spirit of collaboration, we will continue to work with both operators on all these items that we discussed tonight as well.
I'm grateful that we have two invested operators in our city. And I get it, there comes a point too, Lance, that you do a cost-benefit analysis, right? Figure out where you're at and you make that decision. But in the meantime, I think this is the direction we're going in. I don't know if anybody has any other further comment or.
So, Mr. Mayor, if the committee members agree with staff recommendation with Bert's clarification that there needs to be clear language that recognizes when and how and what events the OPAC gets to advertise in this policy and procedures, just adding that to the staff recommendation.
Personally, I feel the term request has to be identified. It's yes or no. I mean, so specifically, somehow we straighten that up.
Yep.
The city attorney, what would you recommend?
Especially because it involves speech, I think it's important to have very clear guidelines about when OPAC events would be allowed to be included on there. So it's going to be standards, but it also needs to be very fair, given that Lance is clearly paying a lot of costs. So it's going to be clear, defined, and there'll be, as mentioned earlier, Terrell and his team will be monitoring that to make sure it's fairness and in compliance with the rules and regulations that we set up.
Thank you for that, and it's very helpful. If there is an extra cost involved to the Sterling Group for changing the signboard because they have an employee on board, is that something that we look at distributing part of that cost to the nonprofit, or we don't touch that with a 10-foot pole?
Well, these are, of course, what the negotiations are going to be about. So the language will need to be approved by both parties, and so actually three parties, because now we'll have.
The cities.
Exactly. So this is something that will have to be negotiated.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rosell. I'm very grateful our city attorney is here giving us the advice that he does.
And I appreciate, Ms. Casey, just to hear you, Dr. Davis, to craft the language in such a way that when the parties revisit that, come to some agreement.
That is our request.
Yes, okay, wonderful, thank you.
So, Chair MacArthur, if I can just read into the record what the committee recommended tonight.
Yes.
So for item 1A, event security for gatherings, committee members supported staff recommendation. For item 1B, dance permit special conditions, committee members supported staff recommendation. For item 2, meeting room bookings, the direction that we received from the committee is city staff need to continue to working with the two parties to come up with language that can be included in the contracts that both parties agree with. For item 3, concessions, the committee members support staff recommendation. And for item 4, the marquee at 800 Hobson Way, committee members support staff recommendations with more language that solidifies the events that OPAC can advertise and how the city ensures they are advertised on the marquee.
Correct.
And with that, I just want to say, in terms of timing and timeline, because everyone's asking us, when are the contracts going to council? When are the contracts going to council? You heard from everyone here tonight that we need clear policies and procedures and exhibits. So that falls on our staff. We are drafting a lot of these items, and we're doing it in collaboration. So I just want to manage expectations in the room. I think we can keep moving forward and tackle these items one at a time. But I would say reasonably bringing council contracts in November is reasonable, because if you also take into consideration the publishing times, so that we'd be publishing in October. So I just wanted to manage expectations there on when this would go to council.
I appreciate that's reasonable. I appreciate that. Thank you. This this item is only an update and to seek direction and feedback from staff. From committee members. I think we've provided that after hearing Ms. Casey read back the 4 items for the record, and no further action is needed unless a member has an item for a future agenda, and there be no further business on the agenda. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.